BR, you'll have the big star on the door. The green room, you'll have your own changing rooms.
I can't remember what it's called. There's a list.
A rider list?
A rider list,
Yes,
of course.
what are you
See,
gonna
you
put?
knew that and I didn't.
I did, yeah. But what are you going to put on it?
M&M's, but only yellow ones.
What about, I don't know, what else could fresh strawberries? No?
Not at all. Yellow M&M's and also...
What would Caroline like in the green room? Do you know?
Oh, she's a diva, Caroline.
I know,
Could
she'd be hard to
anything.
please.
Probably a foot spa.
Foot spa,
Yeah,
yes.
I would say so.
Yeah.
So, it's open to the public, you know.
I know, I was saying that this
So
morning.
we've got 4 great acts. They're going to do 3 songs each. Jimmy and Paul's going to be there. It's going to be all chilled, right? And I was going to say selling, but the tickets are free. But
Yeah.
you have to go onto on Greenon's website and book a ticket. And you can
Brilliant.
come along, see a show being done live, see live music Friday morning.
Great.
What else would you bet?
Yeah, and then should they do lunch and teas and coffees and
they?
bunch out the front?
Okay,
Sure, it's
very
going to be
good.
nice, relaxing. And then, wouldn't it be great? Do you know if you did buy your ticket at highlandradio.com and you pulled out and saying it's Mary
Can I say what I
McGuckin and she says, I'm in the audience and I won the 10
Yeah,
grand.
you're not very good at this sort of casual promotion.
Well,
Like, I feel like you're trying to ram down stuff the listeners' throats.
Right, what way
It
would
feels
you do
forced. I just wouldn't do it like you're doing it, you know.
it? Right.
You're trying to
Sure,
flog
different.
tickets.
Yeah.
You know
I'm
what
trying
I
to plamash you, plamash Caroline. Big fancy word there. Be nice to you.
Blamasa.
Yeah.
No, you're right. So, yeah, tickets, the draw, that's quite interesting because the draw is going to be made between 11 and 12 in on Green on Friday. So you're perfectly right. If you wanted to simply just go and see a live cast draw for 10 grand.
Yeah, but it's
no
good
bother.
even seeing your programme live. You're doing all your...
No, it's just going to be a completely different type of show.
Oh, is it? Oh, great.
Yeah, so it's just music. So from 9 o'clock, me, Jimmy, Paul, have a chat. We'll have our first act up on stage.
So there you had, there you had it handy on Monday, and you have it handy on Friday, and then you have
Handy
it
on Friday.
Well, sure, that's a handy gig now on Friday, and then the weekend in London as well.
Handy.
That's life's tough, isn't it?
Nothing handy about it, Gooch.
Right.
Anyway, you can do it. You go and do London. You can do the OB. You can engineer it yourself. You can do the cameras yourself.
Gee, Daddy, come on, move on. You're just going to be late.
All right, Lee Gooch back with you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. It is 9 o'clock, as you can imagine. Lee Gooch is back with you tomorrow morning at 6:30. It is 9 o'clock now. Let's get a news update, and it's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. 2 Donegal schools have been named in a scoping inquiry report into reported historical sexual abuse at religious schools. Victims' groups are calling for a redress scheme to be set up for the survivors. It included over 2,400 allegations involving 884 alleged abusers over 300 schools. St. Louis Girls Convent National School in Bundoran and De La Salle Secondary School in Ballyshannon were both named by one respondent each. Meanwhile, Skull Columkill in Letterkenny was also featured in an appendix of figures supplied to the scoping inquiry from the religious orders of previous allegations. It notes 3 allegations and 2 abusers. A commission of investigation has been announced, but a redress scheme recommended in the report has not been decided upon. Co-founder of victims advocacy group Restore Together, Philip Fettis, says it would be in recognition of the harm caused.
Recognising and admitting that you are responsible, that you need to pay some form of recompense is hugely important. We believe that no amount of money is ever going to give people back their lives. No amount of money is ever going to account for the pain which has been caused. However, what it will do is demonstrate tangibly who was right and who was wrong.
Aaron Moore RNLI have responded to call-outs over 2 days, one of which sadly resulted in a fatality. Emily Keegan has more.
The Aaronmore RNLI crew were tasked by Malin Head Coast Guards to assist a boat in difficulty off Tory Island on Sunday last at 4:30pm. Prior to arriving on scene, the Bunbeg Coast Guard boat had reached the casualty and secured the safety of all on board. The lifeboat returned to base and prepared the boat for service. The following day at 6:30pm, the Coast Guard in Dublin requested the lifeboat to launch following reports of a person in the water off Marrameelan, Dunglow. The Coast Guard Rescue Helicopter 118 rescued the person from the water and transferred them to Letterkenny University Hospital. Unfortunately, the casualty did not survive. Aaron Moore RNLI have expressed their condolences to the family of the deceased.
In a Shown municipal district is seeking a meeting with the National Parks and Wildlife Service to discuss a ban on building in certain areas. Members were told that in rural coastal areas such as Malin Head, young people and families are being denied planning because a survey on corncrake numbers is taking place over the next year. It follows the extension last year of a special area conservation aimed at protecting the threatened bird. Councillor Martin McDermott told members that permission is being denied even if people commission their own surveys which show there are no corncrakes on their land. He says if people cannot build in rural areas, that can lead to a decline from which they won't recover.
Families, that particularly young people that get married and have children and they have to get somewhere to live, we lose those people out of our rural communities and we never get them back, and that's where the decline starts. That's where the decline in our schools and our centres and community centres start. So we can't allow that to happen. We can't have that situation escalate, particularly around the whole of our rural communities and particularly around the whole of our coastal communities, which is vulnerable at the minute anyway.
Now, for weather, today will bring a mix of cloud and sunny spells with passing showers. Showers will be heavy or prolonged with a slight chance of lightning. Cool for early September with highs of 13 to 15 degrees and mostly moderate northwest winds. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. Back again at 10 o'clock.
Are we still going to the cinema this week?
Yeah, sure. My mum can give me a lift on Thursday, or my dad said he can drive me there Friday lunchtime. I can ask my brother for a lift on Saturday, but he doesn't finish work until 10. Unless you want to come and pick me up again.
When you lose your licence, you lose your independence. Get caught drink or drug driving and you will be disqualified. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. It is just turning 5 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday. It's the 4th of September. How are you all keeping out there? I hope you're very well indeed. And we look forward to your company for the next 3 hours on this programme and throughout the day here on your local radio station, Highland Radio. Lots to talk about. Some very, very interesting stories coming up on the programme. You won't want to miss it. And we want you involved, having your say, of course, raising your own topics and issues. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number. 086 60 25,000. If you prefer, you can give us a call on 07491 25,000 or email comments at highlandradio.com. Now, just to, before we look at the newspapers today, to remind you, I was just talking to Lee there before 9 o'clock about this, and it is Irish Music Month. It's part of a national new local hero competition, and 21 participating radio stations have come together and agreed that, you know, we'll back artists, we'll play artists, and we'll crown a winning artist. And as I've said on the show before, a lot of people that have entered this competition in the few short years it's been running have gone on to have really successful careers, and we have 4 finalists, and they're taking part in a special show in On Theatre on Friday. We've got Zoe McCauley. She's 16 years of age, although her talent belies her age. She's a singer-songwriter from Dunloe. She's going to be performing Wait and See and a couple of other tracks live. Tessio, a big up-and-coming duo from Derry, Jude McCandless and Callum Feeney. They're going to be performing Hang It in their own unique style. They play acoustic guitars and fantastic harmonies. Owen Ferry is from Gweedore. He's 18 years of age. Again, his talent belies his age. He's a singer-songwriter and has got some really great influences in his work. Mairead Mooney, Enya, Moya Brennan, but he's got his own style. His track is Miss You. He's going to perform that for us and a couple of others as well. And we've got the Afades. They've got a fresh sound, of course. They've released their third single, Giving Out, and that is our selected single. Cahar, Grace, Grace N and Kyle. They're going to be performing Giving Out and 2 other tracks. So it's going to be a live show from 9 o'clock. There's no pay-per-review, no That's Entertainment. It's a different type of a show on Friday. It's just purely to talk about music, to hear music, to have a bit of crack as well. So it's going to be myself, Jimmy Stafford and Paul McDevitt are going to be there as well. And you can be there. And that's the purpose of this preamble. Because we wanted to take it out of the studio for a different vibe for this event. And Patricia and the rest of the crew at On Green On have been very accommodating. But what does that mean? It means that we're doing a radio show, but there are also seats there. And you can come along if you book your ticket, which the ticket is free, of course, and many of you have. We've nearly sold out Row J. It's very exciting. But there are still loads of tickets available. I didn't know really what interest there would or would not be on it. But if you've nothing to do on Friday morning and you want to come along and see a live show and hear some great live music, go on to the On Green On website, ongreenon.com, and go in and book your tickets. And as I say, there's already been quite a big interest in that, which is very exciting. Now, also, which is exciting, and Lee suggested this as well, is after 11 o'clock, down on Green On, the Trombola is out and about across the Northwest. It's making its way to the stage of On Green On Theatre, because we'll be giving €10,000 away to one lucky listener. So you can still buy your tickets. That, by the way, we've $2,500 to give away on Lee Gucci's show on Friday morning, and 10,000 then after 11 on this show. And if you want to be in with a chance, you have to buy your ticket right now. You'll be in both draws, of course. Tickets are a tenner, 6 for 50, 10 for 80. Go to highlandradio.com, click on Mega Summer Draw, and you'll see what you have to do there. This is the last chance, really, to win big as part of this Highland Radio Mega Draw. Now, also, if you want to give us a call here, we can help you with your tickets, 07491 25,000. So, it's all happening Friday. Come and watch a brilliant live music show on Green On Theatre from 9 a.m. Go to ongreenon.com, book your tickets there. They're free, by the way. But obviously, that's to be seat allocations and stuff like that. And also, get your tickets and come along and see the draw live. You might win. It'd be a great story. So, there you have it. Right, I just wanted to give that an early mention, and just to remind you that you can watch this show, and you'll be able to watch Friday's show as well, of course, on our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland. You can watch that on your smart TV or your Fire Stick as well. Just open the app. And also, we're on Facebook, Highland Radio News, Sport and Obituaries, Highland Hub, and on the X platform at Highland Radio. Right, on to the newspapers, and it makes for harrowing reading, and potentially dependent on who's in your car or who's in around the kitchen table or wherever you're listening to us, it makes for difficult listening, because we're going to be briefly talking here now about thousands of allegations of abuse in 308 schools run by religious orders, 884 alleged abusers, 590 allegations recorded in 17 special schools. Almost 2,400 allegations of sexual abuse made in 308 schools run by religious orders were revealed in a landmark report yesterday. The allegations, spanning a 30-year period, were disclosed in a government-appointed inquiry. In the scoping inquiry report, which detailed a systemic culture of abuse in religious-run day and boarding schools throughout the country, 2,395 allegations of abuse were reported against 884 people. Of those accused of abuse, fewer than half are still alive, according to the report. It's likely that the true number of instances is much higher. The report noted, given the level of underreporting of childhood sexual abuse, I think it's something in the region of, if you were to ask people were they abused at school, almost half of them would be telling that story for the first time if they were to answer honestly. The inquiry also revealed that a high number of allegations are concentrated in special education schools, where there were 590 allegations recorded in 17 institutions involving 198 alleged abusers. And I can't get my head around any of this. What these children and what many children went through was absolutely horrendous. You know, they talk about their childhood being stolen. Lives were stolen here. There's lots of people that went through this that aren't with us anymore and died before their time, and others that have carried this and it's affected their life throughout their life, and their education and their relationships and their relationships with their family and their own children. The extent of it, I can't get the extent of it, that so many people, 884 people at least, got themselves into these positions of responsibility and they did these awful things to these children. Why were there so many of them? How did they know they could get away with it? How could they actually do it? How could we, as a society, to some extent, turn a blind eye? The report covers what some of these young people went through, and absolutely horrendous stuff. 2 Donegal schools have been named in that scoping inquiry. As I mentioned, almost 2,400 allegations. St. Louis Girls Convent National School in Bundoran. St. Louis Girls Convent National School in Bundoran. There were allegations there. Also allegations at De La Salle Secondary School in Ballyshannon. Both were named in the report. There's a second section of the report that also lists further places where alleged abuse took place. So as I mentioned, St. Louis Girls Convent School, Station Road, Bundoran. One participant in this report named that school. The De La Salle Secondary School, Ballyshannon, another victim there, alleged victim, I suppose I must say. Also, too, in a sort of an amendment or an appendant to it, there are also allegations, 3 in total, made at Skull Columkill in Letterkenny. The religious order which ran that at that time, I don't believe they do any longer, was the Presentation Brothers. So 3 allegations of abuse against 2 alleged abusers in that school. Now, if that's something you want to talk about, or maybe you were a victim, maybe it's your time to speak if you want to. And I don't want to do anything that makes any situation worse for anyone, but maybe it might help. If you want to speak to us, get in touch with the programme 086 60 25,000. You can text us or give us a call on 07491 25,000. This is not the total. This is what this report found. As I say, St. Louis Girls Convent National School, Bundoran, 1. That school was named once. De La Salle Secondary School, Ballyshannon, it was named as well. And 3 allegations against 2 abusers at Presentation Brothers as they ran Skull Columkill, Letterkenny, County Donegal. As I say, that report's covered extensively in all of the papers, and it really puts things into context. I just don't understand how anyone in a position of how any adult could do that to a child, but it's extensive. If you want to talk about that, please get in touch with us. It may help you. Right, we're heading into a general election, which means, and every government most likely would do this, it means that we're going to get something of a giveaway budget. But every action has a reaction, and the government's being told that its overspending is going to cost each and every house, so each and every one of you, one of your houses, €1,000. That's the cost of a giveaway budget. Overspending by the government is adding to price pressures, putting about €1,000 a year onto a typical household's bills, according to the Irish Fiscal Advisory Council. It says recent research suggests that by breaching its own spending rule, the government could add 1.9% to consumer prices next year. So all households will benefit with from the extra spending, such as electricity credits. Indirect costs will offset those gains. The national spending rule, introduced in 21, sets an annual limit of 5% for spending increases set net of any tax raises. But the government has breached it every year since. And really what we're talking about here is we're talking about money that we can't really rely on, which is the corporation tax windfall. We're dipping into that. We can't do long-term spending based on what could be short-term income. That's where the problem might lie. But in a pre-budget submission, IFAC says that by doing so, the government is adding needless pressure to an already hot economy. The government continues to make big promises. This is driving up prices and making it harder for people to afford the basics. Price increases may have slowed, but there are many areas where pressures remain high, Seamus Coffey, the chair of the state's budgetary watchdog, said. Right, on to Bikegate, this bike shed gate. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, this is a very easy story to get angry about, isn't it? But I mean, when you look at the overspend on things like the Children's Hospital and other areas of misspending, the thing that strikes me about this bus shelter story is this is one story. This is one that got out. So what other excess spending is happening? There is talk in America that if Donald Trump were to be elected, he's close to committing a panel that oversees spending. And something like this perhaps would be useful because they could examine this and then maybe dig a little bit deeper like they did with the RTE to see what else is happening. But anyway, a full review is underway into the inexcusable and inexplicable €336,000 spent on a bike shelter at Leinster House. Now, this thing is not even a shelter, by the way. It's a suspended roof with Irish weather and wind. Your bike's getting wet, you're getting wet anyway. Kieran O'Donnell, Minister of State with responsibility for the Office of Public Works, has asked his officials to carry out a full immediate review of the project. In a statement, a spokesperson for the OPW said the project was procured via a framework agreement and complies with public procurement and planning guidelines. The spokesperson said the bike shelter is within the grounds of Leinster House and its construction involved several unique challenges. The OPW said the structure consists of a steel... I'm not reading that nonsense. It's epoxy bike shelter. That's all it does. Nothing more, nothing less. All right, okay. We'll get back to some of the other papers in a second because mornings are busy, not least for our first guest here, Tanya Roberts Brown. Good morning to you, Tanya. Thanks for your time. I do appreciate it this morning.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I am okay. How are you keeping? This was Oisín's first day at college. I mean, obviously, it's a big milestone, is it? It's supposed to be a very exciting, not without problems in any household, but it's supposed to be, generally speaking, rite of passage, an exciting time. But not so. What was the situation for your family, Tanya?
So just for this morning, as an example, I would have been expecting transport to come for Oisín to take him to his new service up in Letterkenny, but it wasn't the case. We were told on Thursday that Oisín had no transport going forward. So I was just left to my own devices just to get him up there this morning. I had to rush back down. I'm opening my business this morning. I have new families starting in the preschool, and I have a new staff member here too this morning, so it's beyond stressful.
Yeah, busy mom juggling stuff. You don't need
that's
this.
it. We left the house at 10 to 8 this morning. The service were very kind to open early to accommodate me today, to leave him off early, to try and get me back down and just in the door at work. So it's taken over an hour and a half round trip. My dad was up at the house this morning getting my other two kids out to school as my husband's also at work. So it's not practical, and it's very, very stressful.
Yeah. Now, you already went through what many would see as the stressful, long process of actually securing transport. That all was in place. So why this short notice, 3 days notice that transport's not available? What have you been told, or what do you believe has happened, Tanya?
I believe that somebody somewhere along the way has not efficiently done their job that they were supposed to do. And there are over 40 families around Donegal and Sligo affected by this cohort that Oisín is part of at the minute. So there was a delay in the funding to allocate new buses. So this then has to go out to tender. They have to find new bus drivers, bus escorts. Start a vetting process has to happen. It's just ridiculous that it was left this late. This process started for us last year. In April, I went through a very lengthy process with the HSE transport coordinator, and at no stage during this process was I made aware that there is a possibility that this might not actually happen. And to be told on Thursday, which leaves 2 working days to try and sort something before he starts his new centre, is an absolute disgrace. And they should be so ashamed of themselves.
What have you been told the reasons are? Have you actually been told about the sort of, the tendering process, funding release and all that type of stuff, Tanya? How have you managed to find that information out?
So I was told directly by the HSE transport coordinator who was dealing with this application and this whole process that there has been a delay in the funding, that there is no spaces currently available on the buses that they have, so they have to go and get new buses. But I mean, they knew about this, and these children and young adults starting these new services for the last year and a half. It's been a very difficult process to make this transition from school to adult services. It seems as soon as you turn 18, nobody cares about you, and that's how we feel as parents. And I was overwhelmed by the amount of messages that I received yesterday from parents that have been in a similar situation for years. This has not just happened to us this week. This is going on for years and years, and it is not good enough.
What is the timeline for, you talked about the procedure, the process that has to be gone through, i.e., getting buses, getting drivers, getting people that assistance onto the bus. That could take weeks and months, or have they started that process, or where are we at?
So I believe that the process is started. I did try to contact the offices directly on Thursday and Friday, and nobody would speak to me. They said that they were too busy to actually have a conversation with me. I did speak to the HSE transport coordinator who was working directly with SIT. So Oisin was part of Bus Éireann for 14 years when he went to Little Angels.
Yeah.
And we never had an issue. His bus came for 14 years in the morning and in the afternoon on time, took him to school. And that was going to be the only familiarity for him attending day services, is that he would go on his bus. That would be his morning routine, his afternoon routine. And we're all over the place at the minute. So it's so stressful. We don't know how long it's going to take. I asked the question, are they going to provide funding for transport if I was to get a wheelchair taxi? It's not just a matter that I can phone somebody that's passing my house going up the road, can he have a lift? It is not that simple. And it's just not fair. I don't have the words to express my anger. I couldn't speak on the phone on Thursday to the coordinator, and she called me back on Friday. She said, I know you were distressed yesterday. How are you today? I was still distressed. I still couldn't talk to her. I just cannot comprehend how they could let this happen to families in this situation.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the timeline here. I mean, even Garda vetting, when a driver is selected for this route, that could be a further couple of weeks delay. You hope it's not the case, but I wouldn't be optimistic of any result on this anytime particularly soon. So they need to put an interim plan in place, i.e., funding for
if that
alternative
had been
transport.
offered, they've just left us completely at a loss. I said, what am I supposed to do? And I was told, you need to figure it out yourself. There is no funding available. I said, if I provide the funding, can I, will it be allocated after? No, not so ever at all will they give any funding towards private transport.
Yeah, because, I mean, obviously you went into this new term, or Oisin's new first day at college, with your business and other responsibilities, presuming a system was in place, but you can't bilocate, you can't be in two places at the same time. What are you going to do going forward, Tanya? Because this places you and 40 odd other families probably in a very similar position.
I honestly don't know. It's day by day at the minute, and that is the most stressful thing. As a parent of a child with additional needs, you always have to have a plan in place and expect the unexpected. But we were not expecting this under no circumstances. It's just really throwing a spanner in the works, and I'm relying heavily on my family and my support system around me to help me. As I said earlier, like, my dad was up at my house at 10 to 8 to try and get my other two young children out to school this morning whilst I was gone to leave washing up. And it's not practical. I can't do it. I don't know what we're going to do going forward. I don't know. I'm at a complete loss.
Did they give you any timeline, Tanya?
I was told at least 3 weeks. Another family was told at least 8 weeks. We're all being told different things, so we don't know.
Okay. And we do know that buses can be, that if there is a will, there is a way to get this done. They can do it if they want to. We know they can. It's just a case of someone in a decision-making position.
The issue is there is buses. There are buses going in that direction from my area, but because they are not going to third-level education, they are prohibited from taking the likes of Oisin on their bus as they're going to national school and secondary-level education. So you think for a couple of weeks something could be put in place that he could get a lift on one of these buses that are already going up the road. Even his bus from last year, I met it on the road this morning. He's no different. He's still the same person he was a couple of months ago whilst he was on that bus.
Yeah.
And to be treated this way, I just don't have the words to express the anger and the hurt and the frustration that this has caused my family and the other families that are affected by this.
All right, Tanya, listen, I mean, I appreciate you squeezing us in. I know how incredibly busy you are, and already you've had days' work under your belt, it must feel like. Tanya, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Greg, for allowing me to highlight this. Thank you.
That's important. That's Tanya Roberts-Brown there. Tanya Roberts-Brown. As I say, many other families are affected by this. It doesn't make sense, does it? How can we treat people like this? How can we treat Oisin like this and Oisin's family? And how it must make them feel. I don't need to add any words to what Tanya said. You heard there yourself how it makes her feel, and I'm sure many others are in the same position. If you are in the same position and you want to help us highlight this issue, 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. We will, of course, be making contact with the HSE to try and get some explanation as to what went on. But the problem will be is no one is going to actually be responsible for that, right? It's kind of like a faceless situations, isn't it? So someone or people can drop the ball or make a decision or make a mistake or not notify families or not have proper communication. And it's not a person. We're just going to talk about the HSE here. I'm not talking about heads on a stick or a plate. That's not what I'm on about here. But if you've got an organisation that can 3 days out contact families and say there's no transport going forward, there won't be transport for 3 weeks, 8 weeks, it could be months. And it's just an organisation. So we can't sort of say, like if it was here, if I made a mistake on this programme, you could say, right, Greg Hughes, you're responsible, take your responsibility, do your job better into the future. But it doesn't happen with it. This is the HSE. So I know what the reply is going to be, and it's just going to be as if it's from sort of nondescript inanimate object. But anyway, we will chase it up nonetheless. I'll just return to the papers here. The Irish Daily Star this morning, there's been little progress over a 12-month period on the issue of the development of a transgender policy at Dúchas Women's Prison, Dúchas. This is according to the latest annual report by the Visiting Committee for the 146-bed capacity prison, which has repeated its call for the creation of a clear, fair and supportive transgender policy for the operation of the prison. The committee states such a policy is in urgent and essential need. On the absence of a transgender policy, the Visiting Committee report states that it is a matter of concern if the prison aspires to be exclusive or inclusive of all women in custody. In the last published 22 report, they state, we would strongly urge that this be dealt with as a matter of priority. It is essential that relevant training and education be provided for prison staff to support the policy effectively and to ensure the dignity and safety of any transgender women who come into custody. The committee states that the Irish Prison Service was developing a transgender policy throughout 22 and assures and was aware. I wonder, is transgender women, is there an issue, or does it have to be a policy of transgender men going into men's prisons? Is that an issue? Does that come up often, or is it just trans women going into women's prisons? Some good news. The little girl who was stabbed in a knife attack outside her school last year is back home. Isn't that good? She's been discharged from hospital after 281 days. The family of the child, who was severely injured in the stabbing on November 23 last, said that they are now beginning a new chapter in their darling's rehabilitation. In an update on the funding raising page that was set up for them in the wake of the attack, her family said the hope is she is able to swallow food, move her arms and legs more purposefully and utter some more sounds. The young girl had initially been admitted to the ICU at Dublin's Temple Street Children's Hospital, then aged just 5. She and 2 other children, along with their carer, were hospitalised following the stabbing incident outside Clash-Jamura at Parnell Square in Dublin's north inner city. And just to be clear, because people might say, well, why aren't you mentioning the person responsible, or the person alleged to be responsible, I should say, Riyadh Bachaka. He's 50. He's charged in relation to the attack. He was before the courts just before Christmas, so he's named and he's pictured and his information's out there. He is charged with that crime and he'll have his day in court. Russia has killed at least 51 people and wounded more than 200 in its deadliest strike against Ukraine so far this year, according to the Irish Daily Mirror. 2 ballistic missiles smashed a military training facility and nearby hospital in Poltava early yesterday. City Governor Filip Pronin announced 3 days of mourning, which will start today. He said the enemy certainly must answer for all its crimes against humanity. Simon Harris over in Ukraine today, I understand. And finally, to the Finn Valley Voice, a big congratulations. 30th anniversary of the Finn Valley Voice. On the 7th of September, next Saturday, the Finn Valley Voice will celebrate its 30th birthday. Another milestone and a very welcome one in the story of the newspaper, which rightly describes itself as your community choice, your community voice. The Finn Valley Voice has now officially been at the heart of the community for an entire generation. Congratulations to everyone involved, Celine and all the crew, and Pat and There's loads of people involved in that. Still great to see quality newspapers out there that focus on, particularly specific areas and provide a great service there. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today. Do you want to become a qualified scaffolder? SafeTech are running a 7-day basic scaffolding course in Sligo and Donegal in September and October. All these programs are 25% funded. Terms and conditions apply. SafeTech are also running scaffolding inspection and mobile tower scaffolding courses. Contact SafeTech today on 074 9127786 or visit safetech.ie.
Did you know there's a scheme called Work and Access that provides a range of disability supports? It can help adapt workplaces, including remote workplaces, and provide special equipment, communications supports, and training. So, for more information, visit gov.ie/work and access. Working should work for all. A Government of Ireland initiative, brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
What would you do if you won €10,000 in our mega summer draw?
Oh, I'd be going holiday. I would probably put it towards a new car.
I could probably build a swimming pool in the backyard for all this good weather I've been getting.
I'd definitely think about investing it on myself. The hair, the makeup. God, Guam would even get a call.
Get your tickets now on highlandradio.com. There are still 2 chances to win $2,500 with the main draw for a whopping €10,000 taking place on the 6th of September on the 9 till noon show. Don't miss out on your chance to win big in our mega summer draw.
Woohoo! Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
Well, the time's 9:34. A caller says, my 19-year-old son has applied for, wait for it, 25 jobs in the last 2 weeks and only got an interview for one. He went for it even though he knew he wouldn't get it for the experience of doing an interview. One job even re-advertised the job again. How is this fair of employers? Surely they should respond whether you are called for an interview or not. Yeah, indeed, I think they should. That would be basic manners. Right, loads more of your comments we'll get to in a moment, but I first want to go to Independent Councillor Micheál Colm McGill-Espig. Good morning to you, Micheál Colm.
Morning, why, Greg?
Thanks for joining us. Okay, right. It's an ongoing thing, isn't it, trying to get Irish Water, Uisce Éireann around a table to talk about, the provision of services in this county. So they did agree, did they, for one meeting at a full council in Letterkenny, or at least with all councillors from all municipal districts in Lifford, I beg your pardon?
Well, what happened was that, look, I've been trying to get Uisce Éireann to come and sit down with us for a very, very long time. There seems to be this kind of arrogant attitude that they're not willing to communicate with public representatives and, more importantly, not willing to engage or meet with the public that they're here to serve. So they wanted a meeting out in Lifford. I opposed that. Other councillors also supported that, what I said. But what I find disrespectful is that they've asked us to come and meet them in the Radissons at different hotel points, right? Now, bear in mind, this is taxpayers' money that will be renting these rooms. We have council offices that I believe that they should be meeting us in. They should be coming into Clohanlia, meeting us there. If they're going to Donegal, they should be meeting in the Donegal office. And I think it's very disrespectful, but it shows clearly the contempt I feel, and that these are strongly my views, that Uisce Éireann holds to the public representatives and, more importantly, like I said, the public. Now, we have a lot of issues here in West Donegal.
Before we get to that, if you don't mind, Councillor, so they initially offered one meeting in Lifford. You refused that and you stood firm on that. They have now agreed, have they, to meet with each municipal district. And you're meeting them for the first time on Thursday. And where is that meeting taking place? Is it going to be in the...
It's in the Radisson. And I believe that the format for this meeting is wrong. Public meetings that are being held by public representatives and officials state officials, and that's what they are. They work for the state in terms they work for the people. The public should have a right to be able to come along and hear what Ascarin has to say. We're meeting them in their Addisons at 11 o'clock from our Glanty, the Glanty MD. And now, unfortunately, because it's a private venue, the public probably wouldn't get access. But if it was me that was experiencing the real hardships that people are, what the water infrastructure, I'd be going to that meeting. I would absolutely welcome anybody to come along to that meeting. There is a link that we've been given if we can't go to the meeting in person, that we can go online. I'll be posting that on Facebook myself. I'm not sure if they'll get access, but if you don't try, you don't get. And it's not that I'm trying to be awkward here to Ascarin. What I'm trying to do is my job for the people who elect me, and do it to the best of my ability. And if that means organising and agitating at times, that's what has to be done. And Ascarin, for me as a public representative, so if there's an outage in any area, Greg, and Highland has been absolutely brilliant through the years for highlighting all these outages and the difficulties with water bursts. But if there's an outage, and our hard-working staff who work 7 days a week and are out looking for that burst to try to connect people very quickly, we can only talk to a call centre down in Condycarkey who works, that staff doesn't work for Ascarin. They work for, I think, Capita is the company that they work for. We don't even get to speak to Ascarin. We can't get to speak to Ascarin. And there's so many issues out there.
So on Thursday, then you'll get to sit down in front of them. It'll be very interesting to see how the time is allocated. So how long is the meeting? An hour, 2 hours?
Well, I'll just check there now.
Because I'll tell you, it'll be interesting to see how much of that's taken up by a presentation on the fantastic work Uisce Éireann is doing in West Donegal. And then
we have an hour and a half, Greg.
Yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see how much of that is actually allocated to the likes of yourself, highlighting the concerns. And you can go through the concerns now if you wish. Sorry, I just wanted to catch up to this point now. So, I mean, obviously, there's serious issues with waste disposal in West Donegal, and also serious problems with inconsistent supply. What do you see as the big issues that you want to raise with Irish Water then?
Well, the big issues, and this is where the difficulty is, we're 6 councillors, right? And each councillor must have the adequate time to raise the issues that they have in their own area, and that is only right that they do. So you're allocated an hour and a half, and as you say, by the time they come in and they talk about all the great work that they're doing and all that waffle, then we're left with very little time then for us to engage with them. I have a huge amount of issues. So, for example, I'm down here at the port now. I was meeting with the contractors and the council engineers in terms of the works that's going on in Alchihara here now, right?
Yeah.
But one of the issues that we have here is the sewer system here, and the concern that the fishing community constantly have is what they believe, that there's raw sewage going into our bay where people are fishing from, right? The other big issues that we have is that you look at Elangola, 3 or 4 times that water was burst, and we had to wait weeks and weeks to get that water line fixed. While I was talking to Corley Condygunningal, because I can't get to talk to Ascarin, who has that responsibility, I was told by 2 senior staff, one of them a director, and the other one is the overseer of water services within the Glenties MD. And I was told that Uisce Éireann had instructed them not. Sorry, somebody ringing me there, probably to tell me that I'm on radio. That not to respond. Now, if that is happening, that is so undemocratic. So as Uisce Éireann are saying, and I've written to Uisce Éireann asking them, I need a response to that there. The minister needs to respond to that there. Is this a way that Fianna Gael have set up Uisce Éireann that it's undemocratic in the terms of the council can't respond to even the directors of the council itself, which is us as county councillors? There's huge questions.
Yeah,
the issues of water bursts.
But also, you see, the problem is, and it also relates to a ramble I had about the HSC a little earlier on, whereby families are being let down at short notice to transport their young family members to school or college. There's no responsibility or accountability. You can't. It's Uisce Éireann. We always talk about Uisce Éireann, Uisce Éireann, Uisce Éireann. who is individually responsible for this? So there is no one person that can say, it's me who's decided that we're not going to upgrade the water system in Cadu or wherever it might be. It's this faceless organisation that even local elected representatives can't properly engage with. You know, that it doesn't feel very democratic. It doesn't feel very, I'm not looking for anyone to get sacked or anything like that. What I'm saying is how can we, in terms of the provision of health, the provision of services like water, when no one's responsible and it's this faceless organisation, things are never going to improve because you never are held responsible like you might be in a private company.
No, and this is the difficulty for us, the real difficulty. And you're right, who is responsible? And it's the way that the system, and when we were in Can't Pay, Won't Pay, and we were fighting this here, we were talking right through all the meetings that Escairn or Irish Water, as it was called back then, that this would be the system that would have been set up, that was deliberately, people in the political power, Fianna Fáil and the Gael, had sat down and they deliberately put this system together. And it's very unfair, first and foremost, for the public that can't get access, right? And it's unaccountable. Should we look at the fiasco that they were able to pay 300,000 for 18 bike stands in Ballyclea, which would have built a house here in West Donegal for some of the homeless families that are homeless, but nobody's responsible. But Escairn is a reflection of that there, and I find it very frustrating because I focus hugely on water and water infrastructure and sewerage, right? So in the Cadu area, we were without water for a long time. The pictures that were being sent to me of the black water that were coming out of the taps, we have a situation over in Ardivag that the water has been eroding the pipe infrastructure, the copper infrastructure in people's houses. There is a case against that there. Not something that we wanted to do. We wanted to engage with Escairn in that there and find a solution, but nobody would take our calls. Nobody would sit down at a council meeting with us and talk to us. You talk to the directors or to those within the water service within the council, and it's always, well, Escairn. And it's not working when you have places like Washahu and Waharorty and all them are weeks at end without water.
Okay,
when
and
you
just
have
in
students
relation
and
to that,
locals.
let's look at it a different way in terms of accountability. Say there is a 1 kilometre stretch of piping that continuously is bursting. How much is it costing to constantly go out and patch that? And then the problem moves up a little bit and patch that. And then it moves up a little bit and patch that. And then you price in the inconvenience to the public, whereby we have a basic human right to access to water. Like how much money are we wasting trying to maintain and whack-a-mole that crappy piece of pipe instead of replacing it? Do you know what I mean? That should be explained to us, because that is public money that perhaps is not being used to its potential.
So to answer that call, I would have contacted the call centre, the only place that we can engage with, to get answers to them questions. I got an email last week that it was a very fluffy way to answer the question, right? And if you take Gidor, right, where I represent as well, and if you look at Minyanuller, right, it's like 40 shades of grey going down there. We invested into good tarmac there through the road section a number of years ago, and it's all patched right down, right? And this is very, and we have to bear in mind that there's obviously the human cost of this here when people are without water, but also our council staff that I'm always conscious of as well, because they're out in the middle of the night. During the day, they can go days without getting proper sleep, trying to find water bursts and fix them. So going back to your question, how much, you're talking roughly per burst, you're talking between 15 to 2,000 euros per burst to fix, right? And if you add up, so I often ask for history of bursts on certain roads, and it's very difficult to get that proper breakdown from them. Now, you will on the QT, maybe some of the local lads will tell you, but what Escairns tell you and what the local lads are saying possibly could be two different things. And when you add all that up, right, it's a colossal piece of money, like millions. I'll happily send you on the email I got the last day. You're talking millions and millions instead of investing. And when the government, so-called the good times of the Celtic Tiger, when they had surplus of billions, instead of investing instead of investing into proper water infrastructure and sewer infrastructure, the decision was made not to invest. And
I mean,
the
the
water
argument,
infrastructure is crumbling.
yeah, but the government would argue, and Irish Water, Escairn would argue it, and there probably is some merit to this argument that yes, there were, decades and decades of underspending in that area, and there is a lot of positive work has happened in Donegal Town and different areas. But obviously, there's still an awful lot of problems. So I'm just trying to be fair here, Micheál Colm, that some progress has been made.
I understand what you're saying, but I would dispute some of that, because if you're talking about progress being made, right? Yes, we've seen, right? If you look at Portachoran and if you look at Derrichanra and areas that we had worked very hard to get new water infrastructure and right, at a One-Bug and different areas, right? But they're only small sections, right, that got done. We were promised in Gweedore many, many years ago that we would have a sewer system. We don't. We're going to build hopefully 16 new houses in Gweedore now very shortly of that land, that old Hughie Joe's Hotel that we required, right, as a council. And a fantastic piece of work done by the council there, getting that land and housing issues, big issue, and it would be great to come on here to discuss the failures and the positives another time. But 16 houses we get to build, and that is badly needed in Gweedore now, right? But if we had a sewer that is something that most developed worlds accept, that are in every town and in every village, we'd be able to put far more houses into that.
Yeah, well, listen, come here. That's exactly the point I was putting to Sinn Féin yesterday about their housing plan, and indeed the government's own housing plan. It's the infrastructure in Donegal's our problem, and you cannot, no matter how you promise it, you cannot build houses that you can't service with water and sewers, and therein I think lies one of the significant problems. But just last word to you.
Sorry, yeah, massive. Another thing is too, and I really want to raise this for people who are building their own homes, because I'm getting a lot of calls on it, right? So when people are building your new homes, please get in contact with us, Éireann, as quick as you possibly can. Get connected, get that paid and connected and all that, because it's taken months. I have a family now, as we sit, who have nowhere else to go, right, and needs to move into their new family home. They're carrying a new baby that's about to be born, and it's going to take months and months for Escairn just to do a simple connection, and people are frustrated. They have nobody to contact but the local councillors. They come to me, and I find it extremely frustrating that the arrogance and the dismissive view that they have on public representatives and not being able to sit down and talk to us.
All right.
We'll be meeting them tomorrow, and I can guarantee you it'll be all waffle.
I'd be interested to see how long the presentation is and how long each councillor gets to raise the issues.
Well, what they should be doing is that we should be having these meetings and allowing the public to come along to these meetings.
Well,
and if they're able to give us a Zoom link for those that can make tomorrow's meeting, surely they can Zoom them meetings live.
Okay.
Well, after all, it's our taxpayers' money, and they're there to serve our community.
All right. Thanks very much, Micheál Colm. That's Councillor Micheál Colm of Gullinasbog. We'll let you know how those meetings go tomorrow.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Welcome to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms in Donegal Town. Discover affordable luxury with our bespoke fitted furniture solutions. With almost 30 years of serving Ireland and the Northwest, we're your trusted experts. Visit us Monday to Friday 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. Book your free consultation today on 074 9725822 or visit cherrymore.ie. Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, where affordability and luxury combine.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold! And ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Buying or moving home can be a strange mixture of excitement and stress. So the last thing you need is worrying about conveyancing. Time to call McElhenney & Associates. They'll move that property transaction along swiftly, make sure everything's in order, and prevent any nasty surprises. Residential, commercial, leasing, or voluntary transfer, call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. We'll do the paperwork, you do the wallpaper. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help?
We love Irish music, and we want to show our support for the movers, the makers and the shakers. Right through Irish Music Month this September, join Highland Radio in celebrating those who make every party, every drive and every day simply magic. Buy Irish albums, Irish tickets, Irish t-shirts and Irish music merch direct from the musicians themselves. Let's support Irish Music Month. Let's buy Irish. Irish Music Month. Irish radio supporting Irish artists with IBI and Hot Press, supported by Commission Amon Sound and Vision Scheme, funded by the television licence fee.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
SSE Airtricity harnesses our greatest natural resource, providing cleaner, renewable energy for homes and businesses across the country. While we all want a greener tomorrow, we also want to save on our energy bills today. With our recent price reductions, you can do both. Right now, we're offering a range of highly competitive energy plans. Switch now and you could save with one of our great introductory offers. To see our very best offers, go direct to ssceairtricity.com. SSE Airtricity. This is Generation Green. Since January 2024, we've decreased our domestic electricity variable rates by 22.8% and gas variable rates by 21.5%. For more information, visit ssceairtricity.com.
Searching for your perfect match? Then visit the Northwest Matchmaking Festival at the Allingham Arms Hotel, Bundoran, from Friday the 27th of September to Saturday the 5th of October. 9 days of non-stop dancing with top acts including Mike Denver, Jimmy Buckley, Tumbling Paddies, Derek Ryan, Johnny Brady, Michael English, Robert Mazzell and many, many more. Find that someone special with blind dates and speed dating occurring throughout the festival. For booking options, go to the allinghamarmshotel.ie.
On September 12th, something big is starting at iMotors. Mark your calendars. You won't want to miss this event. Tell your wife, iMotors. Tell your husband, iMotors. Tell your neighbours, iMotors.
You join us for the World Final Chip Sizzle Freestyle Contest, and the team from Charlie's Chips are in the lead. What a team! Look at them go. They're coming up to the finishing pan, and once again, Charlie's Chips are the winners. Served with mouth-watering burgers, fresh battered fish, or delicious chicken. And there's a great selection of gluten-free options now also on the menu. All available to take away or sit in Tuesday to Saturday from 12 to 8. When the hunger hits, pull into Charlie's on Pierce Road, Letterkenny.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Support local at McElhenny's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhenny's Ballybuffet.
All right, that northerly wind had its effect this morning. I thought it was quite chilly getting up. But today, a mix of cloud and sunny spells with passing showers. Showers will be heavy or prolonged with the slight chance of lightning. Cool for this time of year, 13 to 15 degrees. Now, tomorrow, predominantly dry. I'm jumping to tomorrow to bring you some good news. There'll be spells of hazy sunshine, milder and more humid. Temperatures up to 17 to 21 degrees. Warmest the further west you go, which is not often what you hear. We're going to get the better of the weather today. Friday's going to be another good day. Saturday, another good day. And Sunday, we hopefully will have predominantly a good day. So, now I'm not saying necessarily beach weather, but certainly an improvement. From all over the county, the issue is the same. Unless you're here under direct provision, there's no end of transport for them, and this is what drives the divide in this county, says a listener. Don't forget, guards may well have been complicit in covering up abuse when Eugene Green was being blackmailed by one of his victims. Who did he run to first? The guards, but by then the game was up after the Brendan Smith cover-up scandal. Some of these schools in Donegal should be checked for bullying. It's still going on amongst children. Well, listen, that's the thing. We have to just make sure that we don't focus necessarily historically and make sure that, and our hope for the most part is that schools are safe, secure places for our beautiful children. Good to see that Asda are returning to cashiers at checkouts again. You can't beat chatting to people. It's interesting, actually. Some of the big companies, particularly in Britain, I haven't seen figures as it relates to Ireland, have seen, they introduced a load of cashless checkouts, and they've seen the revenues drop, and all of a sudden they've said, okay, maybe we've overestimated the public's willingness or want to use these these checkout machines, the automated checkout machines. Asda returning to cashiers at checkouts again, and some other big companies as well going down that route. Interesting times. Hi, Greg. I guess the election has begun, given the comments. I would agree with this is on Sinn Féin's housing policy. I would agree with the red tape points regarding housing. The biggest issue is to have a cost manager in all public bodies, board snip nua ASAP. Bike sheds, red tape, possible LPT increases. Where's the money going? The roads are in an atrocious condition. You can see where that call is coming from. We have hundreds of texts and contacts. Thank you so much for that. We're going to work through those through the course of the morning and keep them coming into us. They're so important. We really do appreciate it. We're going to take a break now for the news and obituary notices. As I say, there's some very interesting stuff coming up in the next couple of hours.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Join Home Instead and make a difference in older people's lives. Home Instead Hiring Week is Monday the 2nd to Friday the 6th of September. For event details or to apply now, visit homeinstead.ie.
Home Instead, to us it's personal.
Starting to think about what's next? Then don't miss Ulster University's Open Days this September. With campuses in Derry, Londonderry, Coleraine and Belfast, find out where a degree from Ulster could take you. Ulster University gives you a fantastic student experience, focused on your future career. That's why we were voted #1 in the UK for best universities in this year's Student Crowd Awards. Register now at ulster.ac.uk/open days.
Today, we are all pioneers, standing at the cusp of a bold new frontier, the era of electrification. At Lexus, we know this landscape well, with a luxurious all-electrified range, including the stunning ES Hybrid Saloon and the award-winning RX plug-in hybrid SUV. Start your journey with us today at lexus.ie. Lexus. Experience amazing.
Your local dealer is Lexus Letterkenny.
Starting or heading back to college, Irwin Expert Electrical has you covered. Whether you need a reliable laptop, printer, or a tablet for learning, or the essential items for your college digs like small appliances, speakers, and cozy electric blankets, we've got everything you need to make college life easier and more comfortable. Visit us in-store in Letterkenny or Buncrana and get ready for a successful year ahead with Irwin Expert.
Deirdre's at the Diamond one-day sale in Angrenin Hotel Burt on Sunday 8th of September from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. In-season brands such as Rebel, Franza, Kate and Pippa, shoes and bags and much more / to clear.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. 2 Donegal schools have been named in a scoping inquiry report into reported historic sexual abuse at religious schools. Victims' groups are calling for a redress scheme to be set up for the survivors. The list included over 2,400 allegations involving 884 alleged abusers at over 300 schools. St Louis Girls Convent National School in Bundoran and De La Salle Secondary School in Ballyshannon were both named, each by one respondent. Meanwhile, Schullcolmcille in Letterkenny was featured in an appendix of figures supplied to the scoping inquiry from the religious orders, outlining previous allegations. It noted 3 allegations by 2 alleged abusers. A commission of investigation has been announced, but a redress scheme, which is recommended in the report, hasn't yet been decided on. Co-founder of victims advocacy group Restore Together, Philip Fettis, says it would be a recognition of the harm caused.
Recognising and admitting that you are responsible, that you need to pay some form of recompense is hugely important. We believe that no amount of money is ever going to give people back their lives. No amount of money is ever going to account for the pain which has been caused. However, what it will do is demonstrate tangibly who was right and who was wrong.
A man's been killed and a woman and a boy injured in a crash in County Roscommon. 2 cars collided on the R280 at Arigna at around 8:20 last night. The driver of one of the cars, a man in his 20s, was pronounced dead at the scene. A woman in her 50s and a boy were also seriously hurt. Their injuries are not believed to be life-threatening. The road remains closed for a technical examination. A driver was stopped on the A1 in Sprucefield yesterday and arrested on account of failing to attend court almost 10 years ago. It pertains to an assault in the Derry City and Strabane policing area in 2015. The man, a resident of the Republic of Ireland, was transferred directly to court, where they were dealt with by a local magistrate. Moore or Nalai responded to 2 call-outs in 2 days, one of which sadly resulted in a fatality. It took place on Monday night, as Emily Keegan now reports.
The Moore or Nalai crew were tasked by Malin Head Coast Guards to assist a boat in difficulty off Tory Island on Sunday last at 4:30 p.m. Prior to arriving on scene, the Bunbeg Coast Guard boat had reached the casualty and secured the safety of all on board. The lifeboat returned to base and prepared the boat for service. The following day at 6:30 p.m, the Coast Guard in Dublin requested the lifeboat to launch following reports of a person in the water off Marrameelan, Dunglow. The Coast Guard Rescue Helicopter 118 rescued the person from the water and transferred them to Letterkenny University Hospital. Unfortunately, the casualty did not survive. Moore or Nalai have expressed their condolences to the family of the deceased.
Inishowen Municipal District is seeking a meeting with the National Parks and Wildlife Service to discuss a ban on building in certain areas. Members were told that in rural coastal areas such as Malin Head, young people and families are being denied planning permission because a survey on corncrake numbers is taking place over the course of the next year. It follows the extension of special areas of It follows the extension of special areas of conservation aimed at protecting the threatened bird. Councillor Martin McDermott told members that permission is being denied even if people commission their own surveys which show there are no corncrakes on their land. He says if people cannot build in rural areas, that can lead to a decline from which the areas won't recover.
Families, that particularly young people that get married and have children and they have to get somewhere to live, we lose those people out of our rural communities and we never get them back, and that's where the decline starts. That's where the decline in our schools and our centres and community centres start. So we can't allow that to happen. We can't have that situation escalate, particularly around the whole of our rural communities and particularly around the whole of our coastal communities, which is vulnerable at the minute anyway.
3 children are among 7 killed in a missile strike on the western Ukrainian city of Lviv. Dozens of others are thought to have been injured. Historic and residential buildings have been destroyed. President Vladimir Zelensky has vowed to hold on to the Kursk border region that his forces took control of last month. Military analyst Simon Diggins says the situation at present is incredibly tense.
Zelensky, I think, will find himself in a situation where he will continue to have the resources he needs to defend himself, but not have the resources put in place that would allow him to strategically take back all the provinces that's been taken from there. So that's kind of where it's going to end.
A mix of cloud and sunny spells with passing showers this morning. Showers will be heavy or prolonged with a slight chance of lightning. Cool for early September with highs today of 13 to 15 degrees Celsius. Mostly moderate northwest winds. Brisk along northwest fringes during the morning. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11. Check all of today's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, have a very good morning.
The obituary notices this Wednesday morning, September 4th. The death has occurred of Michael Gallagher, drum cannon, Crossroads, Killygordon. Remains are reposing at his late residence from 12 noon today. Funeral from his home on Friday afternoon at 1:20. For 2 p.m. funeral mass in St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon, followed by interment in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live on the Killygordon Parish YouTube channel. Family time from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has occurred of Susan Kearse Marsh, Banner House, Gortree, Newton Cunningham. Susan will be reposing at her late residence today from 12 noon until 10 p.m. Funeral cortege leaving her late residence tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to All Saints Church, Newton Cunningham for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please before the funeral. Mass can be viewed on newtoncalais.com. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu to Cancer Care West or Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Kelly's funeral directors. The death has taken place of Kevin Breslin, Glendalough House, Granshire Road, Buncrana. Kevin's remains will be reposing at his residence. Funeral from there tomorrow at 10:25, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed online at churchservices.tv. Funeral Mass can be viewed on the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Mary Ellen Gillespie, née Burney, 230 Lower Mount Marion, Milford, reposing at her home from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. today. Requiem Mass tomorrow at 11 a.m. in St Peter's Church, Milford. Burial afterwards in Milford Cemetery. Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time on the morning of the funeral. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
The Monopoly game is back at McDonald's. There are thousands of prizes up for grabs, like McDonald's food, 5 lots of €2,000 Sunway holidays, and €20,000 in cash. New Monopoly Power Peel at McDonald's. Peel on pack, then play in-app. 18 plus, ROI only. Ends 15th of October. Selected menu items only, subject to availability. App required. See mcdonalds.ie/monopoly.
Good morning to you once again. Thank you very much for staying with us here in the 9 till noon show. And good morning if you've just tuned in. Where were you? What were you listening to? You missed two very important issues relating to us here in County Donegal. Thanks so much for all your texts and comments coming in. I'll get through some of those right now. Greg, regarding the bike shed and the cost of same, this is like everything else. The government will sit on it until the public forgets, and like the Children's Hospital will pay the bill because it's not their money. It feels like that. I know where you're coming from. The price of a family home spent on a bicycle shed for 18 bicycles, and I think our last two texters are being very generous in calling it a shed. You know, it's a suspended canopy, which really, given the Irish weather, would offer very little by way of protection unless the rain fell straight down, which it doesn't tend to do so here. That's an awful lot of money for the 18 bike shed erected at Leinster House. We've 23 bike sheds in Buncrana, and I've yet to see a bicycle in any of them. I think money could have been spent wiser. Thank you. I enjoy the show. Thank you for your comments. Hi, Greg. If I spent €10,000 of my own money building a bike stand for 18 bikes, I would think somebody stuck their arm into me. I think you're right. At the Dole, spending 336 odd thousand is no big deal for a wee bit of construction. I could build a house for 336. Yeah, Raymond, you could. Many people could. And I think you could build a number of units of accommodation for that money as well. What is the tendering process? I always thought with public money being spent that you put a tender out and lots of people would tender, and then the cheapest tender got it. Was that process followed in this case, or is it exempt from that? I do note that someone who supplies these sheds down the country said he could have done 25 of them for 335,000 instead of that one. A caller says it's time for Donegal County Council and people to take back ownership and control of Donegal water and chase Irish water out of the county. Another, what about asking them to get rid of the fluoridation? There are loads of studies that show fluoride stunts kids' intelligence, but a new study shows fluoridation is linked to autism. There are conflicting studies in relation to it, and it seems to be the general medical consensus is that it is safe in certain amounts. But look, you know, there's lots of conversations that perhaps need to be had in that regard. Ask Mihal, why do they not talk to him? Is it because he is harassing them morning, noon and night? The taxpayer that's paying his wages, he should go out of his way to meet them. I don't think he's hard to meet. I don't know. I presume he's not. I think most of our councillors are easy enough to meet. And I suppose they are elected to sort of advocate on behalf of those that elect them. And one of the biggest issues, one of the most contentious issues, not least in West Donegal, is water. And I think if you suffered with a great deal of water outages, you'd want your local rep haranguing these people morning, noon, August night. I'm on holidays in Bundoran at the minute and listening to you, and you mentioned the weather there to your gardener. No one mentions the chemtrails and what they're doing to our weather. The knock-on effect to weather has for our farming and tourist communities is not spoken of enough. I'd like to hear a discussion on them. You can be as sure as you can see them, rain will follow. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of people have that view, but if you look at how weather works, where it starts, how it gets here, you look at areas where there's no overflights, and there's rain and different types of weather, and the weather changes. I get where you're coming from. I respect your point of view. Do I share it? No. Do I trust that there's any organisation in this world that is intelligent enough and organised enough to do this? No, because I don't see anything else that organisations are capable at this scale. And B, keeping it a secret. Do you think they're capable of that? No, I think you would have had Trump or Putin or someone blowing the whistle on it. But anyway, listen, I appreciate your point of view. Greg, if I buy a ticket online for, say, €100 and I try and sell it for €400, I'd be called a ticket tout. A ticket tout. Yes, of course, you would be a ticket tout. But if MCT do it, it's called dynamic pricing. Themselves and Ticketmaster seem to be able to do what they want with ticket prices. It's absolutely ridiculous that a normal standing ticket, which was originally valued at €86, was then costing over €400. What it is actually legalised daylight robbery. If a tout was charging you that outside Croke Park on concert day, you'd nearly be telling the Gardaí. I'm surprised there's not more of a kick-up about it on your show. I'm also very disappointed with Oasis, as I presumed they had to agree to this dynamic pricing crack. Yes, they did. I always had them down as working-class heroes who came up the hard way. Yeah, indeed, but money talks. Why are they back together in the first place? Rich people will always try and enrich themselves. That's the bottom line. How long will you remember coming up the hard way when you're a multi-millionaire living in that bubble? I don't know. But dynamic pricing is something we see in hotels. It's something we see in airlines. And now we're seeing it in concerts. It's ridiculous. It's robbery. It's false advertisement, I think, because they say, tickets €86 when you get to the end of waiting for hours in a queue and you're told €400. There's something seriously amiss there. But we're the mugs that are paying it, and it's sold out now. So some people paid it. And whilst people continue to do that, they're going to continue to gouge. So farmers, landlords and anybody making a profit gets a wallop. Sinn Féin socialist policy is terrific until they run out of other people's money. This is in relation to the Sinn Féin housing policy. And there's been some interesting commentary on it, not least from government parties. The argument being that government parties, government ministers saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, that Sinn Féin's house for everyone policies effectively, the government owns the land, the government determines who you can sell the house to, the government determines how much you can sell it for, and the current government is arguing, is that home ownership? It's up to the public to decide. And that's also just the way the government phrased it. Sinn Féin might see it differently. I think people would like to see the real issues dealt with in Donegal, such as the defective concrete block issue and mass migration by freeloaders claiming asylum. These are not the professional people working in healthcare and local industry. Sinn Féin will get what it sows. Finally, a housing policy that looks to fix the mess that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have created, a plan to build more social housing, a plan to build more affordable homes, and a plan to make it easier for people to get on the property ladder. Listening to some of the comments coming in, you would think Sinn Féin was in government. The mind boggles. And I think that's the challenge Sinn Féin has, is separating their policies from better the devil you know policies. Is it possible to get a request played for my mum and dad? Yes, of course it is, Shauna. Anthony and Bridie McGonigal. They're in Caromina. They're 50 years married today. Wishing them lots of love and continued happiness from their loving daughter Shauna and their one and only grandson Dylan. Yep, we'll do that for you, Shauna. Happy to do that. Also, too, could you play a special request for Barry Orr? He's celebrating a birthday today. Big shout out to the main man, Barry Orr. Today is his birthday. Hope he has an amazing day. All my love from his best present, his wife Linda. Okay. We'll see what Barry has to say about that. Greg, you asked how... actually, do you know what? Because I've done those requests, I'll take a break before I move into a more serious topic, because it could sound insensitive and I don't want to do that. So we'll take a break. Here's the bingo numbers. We're back with more in the 9 till noon show in a sec.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 4th of September. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S18. It's game number 36. The numbers are 11, 35, 44, 57, 87, 19, 10, 50, 7, and finally 34. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
You're listening to Highland Radio, broadcasting to some of the 1,000 millionaires made by the National Lottery so far. Next time you play a National Lottery game, it really could be you. Play responsibly, play for fun. See lottery.ie for more details.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off on all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Stores nationwide. Sale extended until Sunday.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show, and I can welcome onto the programme now author Katrina Cunningham. Good morning, Katrina.
Good morning, Greg.
Great to have you on the show. How are you keeping?
Keeping fine, thank you.
Brilliant, and congratulations ahead of your piece of work to be shown on Green on Theatre on Thursday, September 26th, just for people to mark that early in their diary. And it's called The Marion Hotel. And I would like you, Katrina, in your own words, to describe the story that's told for us.
Well, the Marion Hotel is based in a mother and baby institution, which would have been called a mother and baby home back then. It's based on my own memories of being given birth to my daughter in there. And it is basically about the friendship of women getting together and everything else that happened in there.
What was I suppose what we do as humans, we try and make the best of a bad situation. We try and survive and lean on each other. And I suppose that creates sort of scenarios and interactions in these spaces that you're able to draw on for the material for this work.
Yes, that's right. I think the way to survive when you're in a dark place is to connect with others, and friendships and bonds do form, and it keeps you going from day to day. That and also being in contact with family at home or friends at home through letter. Believe it or not, we wrote letters then. There was no mobile phones or anything like that. So those things really, really kept you sane when we were there. Yeah.
And I suppose, as well as giving us an insight into the actual lived experience of it, are there other elements of this scandal that we don't know about, or that you believe aren't talked about, and that you're able to sort of discuss and platform through this play?
Well, thankfully, it's very timely in a way, although the play's been, I've been writing it for quite a few years, mainly in the last 5, but there's actually an independent inquiry going to be, is taking place at the moment here in the north. And it is very timely, and that women and their children, now adult children, are coming forward. So there will be different stories or testimonies of people's lives, because it was a very complicated, very, very complicated system. So every day we're hearing from people coming forward and new things. And, we're just hoping that this opens it up even more for debate and for people to come forward.
Are you comfortable telling us sort of, what age you were when you entered one of these facilities and the circumstances around that, Katrina?
Well, I was 19, which I thought at the time I knew everything. I thought 19 was very old to be, as we would have called it, getting pregnant. I was on my own. So I, unlike many, many other women, I decided to go there myself. I had heard of it. I'd heard of Marionville. I thought it would be like a retreat.
But did you go there for a support structure sort of a thing? I mean,
yes.
Okay, right. So you went in, and what was your experience there, or when did you realise it wasn't quite what you believed it might have been?
The minute I went in the door, basically. It was a convent, or attached to a convent, so it was a step back in time anyway. That's what it felt like to me. And the moment it was on, it was very regimented. And the main thing about it was that everything was geared to having your baby adopted, which was not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be down and people maybe talk to me and just help me through a bad patch in my life. So everything was geared towards adoption. And
so did they try and convince you of that? Like because you walked in of your own free will, could you have left at any time at all?
Yes, I could have. This is the thing about it. You go into a place like this. First of all, you're thinking, right, this is a place I need just to help me through this.
Yeah.
When you start to realize that it's actually not, you're already there, and you feel that you have handed over your future in a way to somebody else.
Wow.
It's easy now to think in hindsight, I should have done this or I should have done that.
No, because
it was at the time.
I presume there were techniques and language that had been well honed to convince you that it's in your best interest to be there and it's in your baby's best interest for the baby to be adopted. I mean, I don't want to use the word professional, but they knew what they were doing. So you can see very quickly how you could find yourself being drawn into that and questioning, what is the right thing for me to do? And you're only hearing one angle on that.
Yes.
And also do you think enough is discussed about, and do you talk about this much in your play about, what happens next? Where do the babies go? What does the mother find out?
Well, first of all, babies were taken without consent from the hospital after women gave birth, which was what happened to me. So that is talked about, but it wasn't talked about at all when I was on there. It is talked about in parts of the play. Certainly, it has to be, because that's the reality.
So you went full term, okay? You went into labour. You had your baby. How soon after that was your baby taken from you?
I have no idea. I know that she was there because I sneaked down to the nursery to see her a few times. So I know she was there for perhaps a few days afterwards. But I've no idea when she was taken. I still don't know.
I'm so sorry, Katrina, that you and so many people were put through this. It is just absolutely gut and heart-wrenching, and it's unbelievable. It really is, that you going through all of that and your baby taken from you.
Well, I was one of the lucky ones, Craig, because I did get my daughter back after 3 months. So when she was 3 months old, I got her back. And so I am very, very lucky.
Yeah.
And that is why I speak up and talk in shows like this, because there's other women who can't for whatever reasons. And it's also to give a voice to those women and their children who are now adults.
The show itself is, how would you describe it in that, I mean, obviously, as well as everything you've gone through and the horror of these homes for most people that were there, you're coming from Northern Ireland too, peak of the Troubles. There's an awful lot going on. How do you want to tell that story? Is there a bit of humour in there, a bit of dark humour? Does it show all sides of I suppose, the human personality?
It is. It does. As I said, it was the friendships that were formed and the humour that keeps you going. So there is black humour, and it was against the background of what they call the Troubles. But so that's where we were coming in. We were coming in the middle of everything that was going on around us. That is brought into the play as well. That is, because people came from different areas, obviously from all around the north, from the south. So the girls came from different backgrounds and different areas. So you were swapping information as well about what was going on outside, although you weren't encouraged to do so. So that all comes into it. The humour, the war, everything else.
As you may be aware, there's the finding of the scoping report published here in the Republic in relation to church-run schools and abuse within church-run schools, and just as part of that, and about how we speak about what we've been through. There was a study not so long ago done that showed that if you approach people that were in these schools and ask them directly were they abused, and the answer in the affirmative, for 47% of them, that'd be the first time they actually said it out loud or acknowledged it.
Yes.
And I
I've
think
been following that as well. I've been following what's happening there. Yes.
And I think the same is maybe for a lot of people that were in mother and babies' homes. Are you hoping that this gives them the voice? Because when people are asked, they'll say it, but they don't feel like they can come forward and say it. Many don't. Are you hoping that maybe this gives them the strength, encouragement, the backing to do so?
Yes, I am, Greg, because I'm very aware, and this applied to myself as well. I didn't tell anybody for years until very recently that I had been through that system. There's so much shame attached to being in it in the first place, to even have thought of going into it, and also the shame around around what was called unmarried mothers back in the day, or even for their children, now adults,
who were
there was a
called
shame
illegitimate, as if they had
Absolutely.
no status in the world at all.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So getting rid of the shame is a big, big barrier to everything. It's shame. And we're trying to break down that barrier and say, this was done to you.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't do anything wrong. None of us did.
So, I mean, your situation is everyone's is individual. Yours is a little bit different because you still had that intense moment of your child being taken away, and that period for 3 months where you didn't know what was going to happen. You were the same as everybody else, right? And as you said yourself, you were very lucky to get your daughter back, and I'm so pleased to hear that. But between that experience and you speaking about it publicly, is it ever present in your mind? Do you put it to your back of your mind? Does it tend to sort of change who you are and affect everything about you? Or again, it's down to the individual. Were you able to sort of compartmentalize it and park it somewhere?
Well, it's especially around my daughter's birthday. I would always think of all the other women that were there. I wonder what happened to them and their children. But it never, ever goes away. And then the thing I think that started for a lot of women and their children was the tune babies.
Yeah.
When that scandal started to come out and people started to talk more openly. And I think a lot of women and their children were saying to themselves, we're still hiding stuff. We're not talking about things. And what about the others? What about the women that never saw their children again? And there are so many of them.
Yeah.
And children that never saw their mothers, or when they went to look for their mothers had died. Yeah. So,
and these are all connected. There's a commonalities. You're all connected.
Yeah.
The cast is a fantastic cast.
Yes.
And you need a fantastic cast to tell such an important story, and that's been assembled. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Katrina?
Yes. Well, I wrote the play I wrote the play, and the sole production purposes are putting the play on. Patricia Burns directing it. The cast we had done for the last few years, we've been doing workshops around this with a dramaturg from Belfast, Emily DeCase. So there's been a lot of work put on. The cast are so enthusiastic. You can imagine a female writer, female director, female dramaturg, female cast. Everybody has become very close, and they're so interested. The younger women are so interested in the subject, and it's unbelievable because once people get involved in something, they find out that their families may actually have a connection towards these institutions as well that maybe was never talked about. So it's a very powerful thing, and the cast are amazing. I've every faith in them. They're brilliant. I'm so lucky, and so purpose. We're so lucky to have such great cast.
Brilliant. Okay, and we're so lucky to have them coming to a beautiful setting on Greenon Theatre. It's on Thursday, September 26th. It's called the Marion Hotel, and tickets are available now. You can go to you can ring the box office at On Greenon, or go to their website right now and select your ticket. Who do you want to see there? Is it everyone? Is it a general audience, or what? I mean, if you were to get up on stage and look out, who would your dream audience be? Is it people affected by this, or maybe those that aren't as well, so that they actually do get that insight that you deliver about this? We talk about this as if it's 1852 this happened. Up until very, very recently, women were going through this.
Yes,
this
I think the last one didn't close until the late 80s or the early 90s. So no, I'd love to see a general audience. But of course, I'm really, really hoping that within that audience that there's going to be what we would call birth mothers and their children. I would love that.
All right, listen, it's been really interesting talking to you, Katrina. Best wishes to you and all. And I'm sure this is going to be hugely popular down here. But thanks so much for your time today. Genuinely appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Katrina. That's author of that play, Katrina Cunningham. It's the Marion Hotel, and it will be shown at On Theatre on Thursday, September 26th. So it should be an interesting show, I've no doubt about it. And you can book your tickets right now on greenon.com or give the box office, give the box office a ring.
For strong, unique, weather-resistant homes, choose Cedral Exteriors. Our fibre cement roof slates and wall cladding ranges are built to last for generations, exceeding EU quality standards. Members of Guaranteed Irish, our products are locally made and beautifully designed, offering long-term peace of mind. Visit cedral.ie. Cedral Exteriors. Strength guaranteed.
TFI Local Link operates evening and weekend services throughout rural Ireland to help you stay connected 7 days a week. We know life doesn't just happen 9 to 5, so if you're commuting, shopping, visiting family, or going out in the evenings or on the weekends, let TFI Local Link take you there. Visit transportforireland.ie.
We all love to get the most out of things, like a sunny day while it lasts. In Ireland, it can be hard to get enough vitamin D from the sun. But did you know that 90% of us also don't get enough vitamin D from the food we eat? The great news is, Avonmore Supermilk is fortified with vitamin D, helping us to absorb calcium for healthy bones and supporting the immune system too. Avonmore Supermilk, the most super our milk can be. Figures based on FSAI 2023 vitamin D study.
The Loganair September sale is now on. Fly from City of Derry Airport and save up to 15% off over 1 million seats across the Loganair network. Book by 6 p.m. on 8th September. Travel from 1st October. Subject to availability, exclusions apply. Visit loganair.co.uk. Use promo code SEPT15. Loganair. Your journey, our joy.
Discover a new standard in healthcare at Greenview Medical Centre, Letterkenny. For routine checkups or urgent concerns, Greenview Medical Centre offers children's consultations, referrals, prescriptions and specialised male and female healthcare. Don't wait to get the care you deserve. Book now at greenviewmedicalcentre.ie or call 074 920 2070. Early morning and late evening appointments available. Greenview Medical Centre, Riverside Retail Park, Letterkenny. A new health horizon.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Okay, we are joined on the programme now by Liam Doherty, Chairman of the Donegal Dubai GAA. Good morning to you, Liam.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. What about yourself?
Not bad at all. Not bad. Keeping good.
Living full-time in Dubai for the last 7 years. Originally from beautiful Kilcar. What's life like over there for you?
Yeah, really good, Greg. I suppose 7 years here now. One thing you have is sunshine every day.
It's overrated.
You do miss the rain, but no, going okay. We'll stick it out for another few years, but you do miss home at times, all right.
Of course, and there's great connections too if you want to nip back and what have you. Right, you started a GEA club in Dubai. What was the idea behind it? How did you know the critical mass was there to support it?
Yeah, I guess I've been here 7 years, so I've built up quite a few connections within Donegal. And me and Conor Gibbons from Letterkenny, one day were having lunch on a Saturday, and we started talking about the fact that there's a lot of clubs in the UAE, but none that kind of feel like home, or none that you really put on a jersey and want to wear that jersey, you know. So that's where the talk started. Then we looked at how many Donegal people we know in the region, and would there be enough to really start a club. So that's where it started. It was a bit of a passion project last summer, and then this year we decided to go ahead with it. And the reaction's been brilliant, to be honest. Even not just Donegal people, but the wider community, I think, are looking for a social club, or a club that maybe gives a little bit extra. We're not taking it too serious in terms of football. It's more about building a community of people that, whether you're a very good footballer or you're on or your first time playing, we're offering that kind of a club where you can come in at any stage,
And it's a big club. Currently 60 men, 50 women. So has it expanded? Obviously, they're not all from Donegal, are they? They're from across the country, but even from outside of Ireland, others are getting involved. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. So it started off, I suppose, with maybe 15, 20 Donegal lads that we knew would sign up. And as I say, the reaction's been brilliant in terms of, a lot of people from the north, even South Africa, New Zealand. We have a couple of guys from the UK as well that have put their name in the hat. And yeah, thankfully tonight will be the first training session. So we're to get bodies on the field tonight. I think we have about 40 men and 30 women all coming tonight. So it's turned into quite a big club. I think when we started, we were talking about potentially having 2 small teams. Now we're looking at potentially 4, maybe 5 teams, which is it's more than we we expected, but we welcome it all.
Yeah, and I think you sort of said this a little earlier on. It is a GEA club, but it sounds almost like an Irish social club, not exclusive to Irish, but it's just to sort of get that sense of community and Irish community and home out in Dubai, because I think that's one thing we miss the most when we're away, isn't it? It's our family, but it's also our sort of that sense of community.
Yeah, 100%, Greg. And I think I lived in London for 3 years, so I knew of Cheer Connell Gales. My brother lived in Philadelphia, where he was involved with Donegal Philadelphia. You've got Donegal Boston, Donegal New York, all clubs that are well established and done well. But there's nothing in the Middle East, in terms of bringing that Donegal name. So even we've had some people from Abu Dhabi, from Saudi Arabia, that have said looking forward to getting into Dubai and getting a night out with all the Donegal ones. So it's almost building a centre point for not just Donegal people, but of course anybody that wants to get involved with the Irish community and the crack that's involved with that.
Well, we've seen influences in the UAE taking over soccer, golf, boxing. Could we have a 50,000 GEA stadium next as part of Riyadh season? I don't know. You never know what could happen. But Liam, so what? I mean, so then how are you going to play games? I mean, you can't have a league as such. I don't know. Like, where does this go from here? Because these can get together. And
I'll give you a bit of a background on it. So, yeah, there's a number of GEA clubs. I think even here in the UAE right now, there might be 8 GEA clubs. So there is a league, and the way it works is very similar to like a blitz format, in terms of there'll be tournaments maybe once every 2 months where all clubs come together and play in a 9-a-side games. And it's very short because of the heat here. You can't play a 60-minute game or you'll probably die. Mm-hmm. So you have to play short games, and it's 9-a-side. But the interest around it is building. There's more clubs coming every year. Even the clubs from Qatar and Saudi, from Bahrain, they all come in for them tournaments. At least bring a team or 2. So it's a different format than how it is at home. But there is competitive matches, and then the weekends that we don't have the tournaments, you can set up challenge matches with the other clubs, and that's what we're looking to try and do now with a lot of the chairmen of the different clubs, is try to have competitive matches.
Yeah, and any former inter-county stars in there, or?
Yeah, well, there's some good names, I suppose, in terms of like Conor Gibbons, for example, from Letterkenny. He's one of the committee members, a very good footballer. I think he was actually back in Letterkenny maybe 3-4 weeks ago playing a junior match, and he kicked 9 points. So you've got players like that are still, very much active. Christopher Sweeney's one of the committee members from Gweedore, who has an Ulster medal with Gweedore. And then to name a few.
So there's a bit of talent there, no doubt about it.
Yeah, 100%. There's talent, and we're welcoming anybody that is coming out here, even if it is inter-county players, to come for a training session if they're out on holidays or if they're passing through to go to Australia. That's what we want to see, is people coming down and mixing with other Donegal people.
And what's the name of the club?
Donegal Dubai GEA.
Right, simple as that. And huge female participation as well. Is there the same network there for challenge games and blitzes and what have you?
Yeah, it's the exact same for the ladies, and it was something that I suppose when we started the club, we started it with just thinking about a men's team, and then there was a lot of messages from the ladies' side, so we decided to open up that. And Adele McFadden from Falcara's actually heading that up for us now, another Donegal woman. So she's going to look after the women's side. But yeah, the numbers on the women's are now creeping up as much as the men's. So we've got two very, very good sides of the club. Yeah.
Brilliant. What's the weather like there at the moment, Liam?
I think we're looking about 40 today, so it's rotten, yeah. But it'll be interesting to training tonight, 7 o'clock, to see how it goes.
All right, okay. Plenty of liquid. Get the liquid. I'd say there's plenty of liquid drank over there. But anyway, I mean water, obviously, and Lucozade and stuff like that. All right, Liam, listen, enjoy. Great little story. Thanks so much for sharing it with us. And best luck to you and all your friends and colleagues over there. Take care.
Thank you, Greg.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
That's Liam Doherty, chair of the Donegal Dubai GEA Club, talking to us live from Dubai. And you'd swear he was sitting in front of me. It's remarkable stuff altogether, isn't it? Greg, did the Catholic religious orders in Ireland take the words "suffer little children" the wrong way? Also, to compensate victims, cardinals and bishops could use some of this expensive bling. I'm sure Jesus himself would approve. In terms of redress, I understand where you're coming from. Let me see. I want to be really careful the subjects I'm jumping between, that it's not insensitive in any way, shape or form. I'll go back to the situation we were talking to Tanya earlier on about her son Oisín, who was told at 3 days' notice that there wouldn't be transport to bring him to college. While it's terrible that Oisín doesn't have transport, that family should count themselves very lucky that the child has a place and had a place to be educated. There's families fighting just to get their child assessed and have access to education. The whole system is a complete shambles. That family also, I presume, has had that battle and that fight to get to that point as well, and would have a very good understanding of what you're saying. I appreciate what you're saying. Hi there. I've been trying to... No, I can't read that because it's been blocked by the screenshot. The volume rocker is blocking. I can't read it. Don't want to misread it. I'll get back to that. People have been trying to make everyone aware of the proposed education for children for years. When you see who's been influencing the decision making, you can understand why we have what is written in the books: anti-Irish, anti-family. Greg, you asked how these abusers get away with it. In 1947, a papal decree was issued which discouraged the laity from reporting crimes of the clergy to civil authorities, with the threat of the withdrawal of sacraments and Holy Communion. If any Catholic chose to do so, instead, the faithful were encouraged to report any abuse to the local bishop, who would then be charged with which way to proceed with any allegations made toward a member of the clergy. We all know how that turned out, Jim. Yeah, Jim, I appreciate it exactly. I appreciate exactly what you're saying there. I have to take a very, very quick break, and then we're going to speak to a listener who was listening to Katrina's conversation and wants a quick word on that with us.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Here's to the good stuff. The dip in the sea, the run after work, the catch up with friends, the come back to ours, the Kerrygold butter that spreads straight from the fridge for hot buttered toast or a build your own sandwich, the chat round the table, the sharing of plates, of news and of tales, and the taste that means everything. Kerrygold spreadable butter, straight from the fridge. Kerrygold, may your table always be full.
At Screwfix, you can click and collect over 10,000 trade products in as little as 1 minute. So whether it's a power drill in Portlaoise or guttering in Galway, when you need it yesterday, just click at screwfix.ie and collect at your local store 7 days a week. T's and C's apply. Visit screwfix.ie for full details.
Transform your home with Hegarty's Home Interiors in Buncrana. Discover a wide selection of stylish furniture and decor to create your perfect space. Our expert team offers personalised advice to match your style and budget. Visit us on Main Street, Buncrana. Open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Or visit hegartyshomeinteriors.ie. Hegarty's Home Interiors, making homes beautiful since 1946.
Are you ready to energise your future? ESB Networks is looking to hire qualified electricians nationwide. We'll continually invest in your growth through training opportunities and other benefits. So if you're a qualified electrician looking to build a meaningful career, enjoy competitive rewards and much more, join us and help deliver a smarter, cleaner electric future. Apply today at esbnetworks.ie/careers. ESB Networks, energising your everything.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhinney's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhinney's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhinney's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
Quite in the mix, some clouds, some sunny spells, some passing showers. Some of the showers, though, may well be heavy or prolonged, a slight chance of lightning. Temperatures 13 to 15 degrees, and we had one of those heavy showers pass through Letterkenny there not so long ago. Right, Patsy, good morning to you. Thanks so much for chatting to me.
Good morning, Greg. I was just listening to that woman telling her story, and of course anything to do with adoption and not seeing your mum is a very very heart-wrenching point for me, because I have never met my mum. And I just think the laws that were in place, I think, were quite cruel, that your mum, once you were up for adoption, you weren't allowed to meet her.
Patsy, how much of the story...
Anyhow, the goods...
Okay,
why am I on to you?
No, I was going to ask you, Patsy. I was going to ask you, Patsy, if you didn't mind, how did you and your mother come to be parted?
I don't know. I was born in hospital in Coleraine, and so she must have been working. And I was in care with somebody in Coleraine for a year and a half, and then I was taken out of that care and placed in the Nazareth house until I was 4, and then 4.5, and then I was adopted then by an elderly couple then when I was 4.5, and. So therefore then I spent my life with them till I married, and I was almost 30, and I had never found my mum, never was told anything about her. I was told when I was 8 years of age that my father was killed in the war and my mother died at birth.
No, my word.
And that wasn't true.
So that really effectively, at that point, you would have taken that as fact and carried that into your teens and adulthood. But did you question that, Patsy, that tale that you were told?
I questioned then, from I was 14 then, going through teenage years, I would have wanted to find out about my mum. I would have cried. I'd have wished for a photograph. I'd have wished that I would have had something belonging to her. And that was okay then. Then I was sent to a priest when I was 24, and he told me all about my mum, and that she was an only daughter, and she had me, and that she was thrown out of the house and never allowed back again. And he told me all about her, and then she'd went to England, and then he said then the last he heard about her, she was dead, but she wasn't dead. She didn't die for 12 years after it. Then I'd finally discovered. And then I kept my father in the last 3 years, and 2 months before he died, I asked him one day, because I knew he was from the same area.
Well, can I ask, sorry, Patsy, you were told at 8 and a half, is this your birth father that you managed to reconnect with, or your
Oh, no, the man that I was
raised
there
you.
with.
Okay, yeah.
The only father that I knew. And he told me all about, he knew my grandfather, he knew my grandfather, and they were from Fermanagh. And the man that reared me was from Fermanagh as well, so he knew all about the connection, so he was able to tell me quite a bit. And so anyway, he died then a few months later. I had him in the last 3 years, and then he died, and after he died then I started to find out about my mother's connection. And a year later I found my uncle and his wife, Uncle Paul, and that was just heavenly. And he had 5 of a family, and we all met up, and that was the first time that we had cousins and an uncle and an aunt, and that was just absolutely brilliant. But my daughter, from she was 7 years old, I told her when she was 7, and she insisted that I do DNA. So that's why I'm coming on here today to say anybody that hasn't found out the relations, do DNA, because it's absolutely fantastic.
What did you find out,
As a result of DNA, I have found a sister in this last year.
Oh, wow. Is she alive, Patsy?
Right. She's alive. She has been here 3 times. She has a son and a daughter. They have been here as well. And she is coming back this weekend. And she said she has won the lotto when she has found us and six of a family, 6 cousins, because her husband had no sisters or brothers, and so therefore her children had no relations.
No cousins.
And she was in the same boat as me. She was adopted and had been adopted, and then she ended up in a convent, and then she finally went to London and became a nurse. And so her life was a life without knowing anything at all about her mother. She found out in later years that who her mother was, but she was in her 40s like myself. And then her son and daughter had done their DNA, and as a result, they they contacted my daughter to say that they were coming up as being very close relations, and that they were getting their mum to do DNA. She done her DNA, and it came up as 96%. We have the same father.
Wow.
But a different mum. And so that's how I found my sister. So my advice to anybody out there is, if you're worried or wanting to find about your connection or your mum or father or anyone, that's the way to go.
People are going to ask you, did you do it through one of these sort of... did you do it through one of these genealogy websites or something, or what?
No, my daughter got the test pack and she sent it off.
Okay. So your sister that you found, you share a father but a different mother?
Yes. Yes.
Wow. But
yes.
But the stories are very similar, obviously, in terms of knowing each of your mums and searching for, I suppose, who you are and other family members. The experience you both went through seems similar.
Both of us are very, very similar. She never found out who her mum was, all top secret as well, and like mine, and we seem to have just no rights, and it's very, very sad.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I think that everybody's entitled to know your roots, 100%. And especially when it comes to illness and all that sort of thing as well.
How many times have you gone into the GP, Patsy, and they've said, "Is there any history of such and such in your family?" You don't have that knowledge.
Times. No,
yeah.
No, umpteen times,
yeah.
And it's just wonderful, and I couldn't describe it. As I said, I've been very lucky because I've met a lot of lovely, good friends and cousins, adopted cousins, which were absolutely brilliant. But this is the icing on the cake, just to meet up with a sister. I just can't explain the happiness the both of us have, and it's just wonderful.
So pleased. Because this was with you all your life, of course, Patsy. I mean, you get on with life, don't you? You work and relationships and you have children, but it's always there. Who am I? Who's out there? Where's Mum?
Yeah.
Where was Dad?
Yeah.
Do I have any uncles?
Yeah.
Do I have nephews and nieces?
Yeah.
And all those questions are answered. Yeah.
You're always treated as, that's the one that was reared with so and so, or you always feel lost.
And can I ask, and I'm not personal, but you kind of said it, Patsy, but your father that raised you, he told you about your background shortly before he died. Was that a timing coincidence, or did he want to relieve himself of that burden to you? Was he conscious that his time on earth was short?
He would have been conscious, of course, that his time on earth was short. Because he would have called me into the room. He had a wee room in his own here, and he would have called me into the room, and he'd have given me instructions about what he wanted when he died, and all these. And so, of course, he was conscious that he.
So he said to you at one stage, he says, "Look, I have information I haven't told you up until now. Here it is."
No, I asked him. Right. I went this day and went straight and I asked him. I said, "Daddy, my mum came from in a Skilling direction," and I said, "You're from the same area, and you're bound to have known who they were." And of course, he blurted straight out, "Oh, sure, I knew your granda," and named him, and he knew my granny, and named her, and told me. So at least I had that information from that on.
Okay, listen, it's a wonderful story, Patsy, about you and your sister connecting.
Isn't isn't it just wonderful? You know. So, and I know that there are people out there, because a few people have said to me that they have sons or daughters or mothers or that, and they would love to find out more. So I just say to them, right, DNA is the way.
All right. You or maybe your daughter might send on, because I know, Patsy, people will be inquiring. You or your daughter might pass on the actual service that you used, and we can pass it on to any listeners that give us a ring, if that's okay.
Well, indeed.
Lovely,
Greg,
Patsy.
well, indeed.
Good. And all our love to your sister as well when you see her next. She's on her way back again.
Right.
Okay. Take
Thank
care
you
of
very
yourself.
much.
Thanks,
Kate.
Patsy.
Great,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, there you go. That's Patsy's story. If you've got a similar story to share, feel free to do so. 086 60 25,000 is the text or WhatsApp number, or you might prefer to call us. 07491 25,000. If you're calling from the north or outside of the Republic, it's 00353 7491 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
If you've got a smart meter, you should get an Electric Ireland smart meter plan too. Why? Because you can see a breakdown of your energy usage like never before. From heating, cooking, lighting and more. Now you can find out how much electricity you use by hour, day and type of appliance, making your usage clearer and your world brighter. Sign up to a smart meter plan at electricireland.ie. Smart meter required, T's and C's apply.
Níl an bhahanat. Bhefa cailte gan mise. Mise if in fragrach as an adigid margar umadanta. Sin a déir míl soidúri lin. Níl aun ach brega. Dletter dit a bheith sábháilte. Agus nuair a lorgó tú cabhair, éist fer leat.
Ní gádit cursús le fóraig an bailín ó gnéasach. Bí an takeíoch down I gcónaí. Cur gléich ar an ngorda síochána nó tuaircuairt ar alwayshere.ie ar na thuairtcuid ag réaltas na hÉireann.
I'm making a move! Looking for real choice? Leave diesel behind and make the move to Toyota Hybrid Electric at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. World-leading hybrid electric technology, lower emissions driving, with the widest choice of hybrid electric models from Ireland's best-selling car brand. With flexible payment options available, make the move today at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. Toyota, built for a better world.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs, and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to noon show on Highland Radio.
All right, it is 11 o'clock, and that means it's time for a news update. And we say good morning once again to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. 2 Donegal schools have been identified in a scoping inquiry into reported historic sexual abuse at religious schools. St Louis Girls Convent National School in Bundoran and De La Salle Secondary School in Ballyshannon are among the institutions implicated. Additionally, Skull Column Kill in Letterkenny was mentioned in an appendix of figures provided to the scoping inquiry by religious orders, detailing 3 allegations and 2 abusers. A young man with autism and cerebral palsy who started college this week has faced a setback when his specialised HSE bus transportation was unexpectedly cancelled just 3 days before the start of the term. Oisín, who turned 18 over the summer, has found the transition to adult services challenging. It's understood he's around one of 40 individuals affected by the delay, with no alternative transportation options currently offered. A man has been killed and a woman and a boy injured in a crash in County Roscommon. 2 cars collided on the R280 in Ariga at around 8:20 last night. The driver of one of the cars, a man in his 20s, was pronounced dead at the scene. A driver was stopped on the A1 in Sprucefield yesterday and arrested on account of failing to attend court almost 10 years ago. It pertains to an assault in the Derry City and Strabane policing area in 2015. The man, who's a resident of the Republic of Ireland, was transferred directly to court, where they were dealt with by a local magistrate. Inishowen District Council is seeking talks with wildlife officials over concerns that corncrake conservation efforts are hindering development in rural areas like Malin Head. Local residents are being denied planning permission despite conducting their own surveys showing no presence of the threatened bird. Councillor Martin McDermott fears it could harm the region's economy. And finally, Grenfell Tower survivors say they hope a final report into the fire, which is to be published later, will lead to cultural change. It's expected to make a series of recommendations to try and prevent a repeat incident. 72 people passed away in West London Tower block fire back in 2017. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. We'll be back with more at 12 noon.
Donna Marie, thanks very much indeed for that.
Gach blian, fain hart rávíle sé duine in Éireann ailse podóige. Chuidín scag hostel podóige le do risca ailse podóige all a laidu. Inis, má tá tú idir chuigení agus 60 déit fa chlórú le haig trealamh tastáil le bellscreen balla, séir an aisce. Agus an tastáil dénta agat, seolar as le séir fust agus béimi de jangwa leat. Chlórí iniu ag bellscreen.ie nó séirglé a héana hook de nád da cuig chuig a cuig. O HSE.
You're very welcome back to the programme, and we're joined in studio by Nicole Brown, who's manager of the refuse company Panda here in Donegal. Nicole, thank you for your time.
Good morning, Greg.
And I appreciate you coming up and talking to us. It's not for everyone, the old radio crack, but it's an important story to get out there. And we're going back to the early hours of Tuesday morning. What unfolded?
So our crew was out as normal, lifting their commercial waste whenever they came across a 1100 litre bin, which for a lot of people might know what this is, but it's an industrial bin for commercial customers. And they have a procedure that they follow, that they hit each side of the bin before they empty the bin, just in case there's someone in the bin. Doesn't normally happen here in Letterkenny, but in the city in Dublin, other depots of ours would see this more common. And they opened the bin and they seen like a knee sitting up. So they pulled the blanket back and there was a fella in the bin, which scared, I suppose, both of them.
Yeah.
And they just left the bin.
Right, so, I mean, listen, fair play to you crews following the health and safety guidelines, banging on the bin, opening the lid and spotting the knee from there. I mean, hypothetically, if they weren't as thorough as they are, that bin's loaded and tipped straight in.
Yeah.
What could have been the consequences?
Well, if that fella hadn't have, really, if he had continued to sleep, that bin could have went to the lorry and could have went in. Now, there is emergency stops on the lorry, but sometimes it could be too late. It could have ended a different way. Thankfully, They do follow procedure. Exactly,
and that's the important thing here, that this was avoided because of the training of your team and the fact that they follow health and safety guidelines. Has this happened before, as far as you are aware, with your company or other companies in this area?
Not in Letterkenny, no, or Donegal that I've ever heard. It does happen in Dublin City. That's why I suppose Panda is such a big company, and we do follow procedure. We do regular toolbox talks and through the crews, especially in the winter time, because they would see this more common. Whenever it's getting colder, that people would look for shelter. They would normally go into like a DMR bin, which is a recycling bin, cover themselves with cardboard, which sometimes it's hard to see anybody. This was actually in a general waste bin, which was a bit surprisingly, and they had a blanket. So this person must have been taking shelter here maybe a few times or somewhere, we don't know. Mm-hmm. But the main thing, he was safe.
Yeah, and this is a reminder for all waste companies, and that's why we're talking. I mean, it's the same issue, but it's separate to some extent, that this person is so desperate that they would seek a waste bin as somewhere to sleep.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was very surprising for the crew.
As you say, so I presume it's quite obvious that the contents of a recycled bin are probably cleaner, ordinarily cardboard, plastics, that type of stuff, less sort of food waste, dirty waste.
Yeah.
So that's why it's more surprising that you might find someone in such a and I mean, obviously neither you or us want to in any way embarrass or identify the person involved, but is this person homeless? Is this...
Well, we're unsure of that. It was at a commercial business in the Letterkenny area. So really what we want to put across is for other waste companies to ensure, I suppose, that they do have actions there in place to check these bins, and also for maybe residents around that they check maybe their bins, because if people are starting this in Letterkenny area, you know, you could have a child maybe could walk out there and someone getting out of their bin, and that's pretty scary for them.
Yeah, for sure, indeed. And I mean, a bit of a shock for your crews too at that time of the morning.
Yeah,
to find
like
someone
this
in
was
the bin,
5:30 in the morning, so they didn't expect that.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously then the procedure to be followed would be to report the matter to the Gardaí. Not necessarily that, I mean, obviously no one should have to seek refuge in a refuse bin, but also to ensure that the Gardaí can check that this person's okay.
Yeah, well, we did report it to the Gardaí, and they said that if it ever happened again, that it should be reported straight away, and that they would be called to the site wherever it happens. But yeah, it shouldn't be the case.
And it's not being dramatic or sensational to say that if your crews hadn't followed those health and safety guidelines, this could have been very different.
100%.
Because the bin tipped into the lorry, and I presume it condenses the waste to be able to accommodate more.
Yeah.
And as you say, there are still checks and balances there, but you'd have to see the person and know there was an issue.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Right, okay.
Well done to the crew.
Yeah, I think so, because especially at that time of the morning, you know, some of us in other lines of work, you might be guilty of cutting corners, but this is a matter of life and death, and because they followed those rules so stringently, this person avoided serious injury or worse.
Yeah.
All right, 100%. Okay. And the purpose of the conversation is to get the message out there. Well, just reiterate the message, because it's coming from you. Obviously, for and I'll let you say it in your own words, for bin companies, refuge company to do what you're doing, but also to, I suppose, in terms of business owners, homeowners, what's your advice?
Yeah, well, like for a waste company, like, you know, we do follow precaution procedures there to make sure that the bins are checked, especially the big bins. They always open the lid, hit the sides of the bins just in case somebody is in it. As I say, we've never come across it before, but in the cities they have come across it. So we just follow procedure. And then for like home owners around, I suppose, Letterkenny area or any town, this you're probably going to see it more likely to happen there. We've never seen it happen before, but if it's a thing that's starting out,
and we're heading into the winter.
Yeah, that's it. We always do a lot of toolbox talks through the winter time to keep our crews up to date with this.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, I hope that the fella in question too gets the support that he may well need. But Nicole, thanks for calling up and helping us get the message out there.
No worries, thank you very much.
I think it's really important, not only just for other refuge companies, other waste companies, but also, of course, business and homeowners, because often these bins are kept out of the wind. I know some of them, the bigger ones, have brakes on them and all, but you know, you can see how it might be attractive to desperate people, especially the recycling bins, which would be probably thought to be more cleaner. Nicole Brown, manager of Panda Donegal, thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you for having me.
All right, okay. We'll take a quick break, back with more shortly.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
TFI Local Link operates evening and weekend services throughout rural Ireland to help you stay connected 7 days a week. We know life doesn't just happen 9 to 5, so if you're commuting, shopping, visiting family, or going out in the evenings or on the weekends, let TFI Local Link take you there. Visit transportforireland.ie.
People all over Ireland have smart meters, just like Niall.
After mine was installed, I signed up for a free ESB Networks online account. Anyone can, regardless of who their supplier is. Now I actually understand how I'm using my electricity. This has helped me pick a tariff that's right for me.
Niall's home is just like the other 1.8 million homes in Ireland that have a smart meter. Start seeing how your smart meter can work for you and sign up for your free online account at esbnetworks.ie. Join us to deliver a smarter, cleaner electric future. ESB Networks, energising your everything.
New this week in Home Store and More. All painting and DIY accessories and all metal kitchen bins are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price painting and DIY accessories and all the half price metal kitchen bins are gone, they're gone. Also, all home office desks and chairs and all pet beds, toys and accessories are still all half price. But when all the half price home office desks and chairs and all the half price pet beds, toys and accessories are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Don't miss A Night at the Opry, a brand new country concert show in Angrennan Theatre, Letterkenny on the 12th of September. Join Johnny Brady, Claudia Buckley and John Hogan as they sing the biggest hit songs in country music in Angrennan Theatre, Letterkenny on the 12th of September. Tickets on sale now from Venue Box Office.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time is 11 minutes past 11.
But then I think of the grander scheme. Won't think about.
That is the sound there of Zoe Macaulay, one of our finalists in the Irish Music Month competition. Tessio, they're a singer-songwriting duo from Derry, Jude and Colm. We also have Owen Ferry. He's 18 years of age and from Gweedore. And lastly, we have the Afades. They're an Irish indie rock band. All four of them will be performing live as part of our Irish Music Month local final in Angrennan Theatre, 9 till 12. We'll have those guys singing 3 tracks. Jimmy and Paul will be there. If you want to see a radio show live and you want to see fantastic live music, get on to angrennan.com right now and book your seat in that beautiful theatre. They are free, of course. You can also ring the box office and they will sort them out for you as well. It's all part of Irish Music Month. We're joined on the programme now by Deirdre Kenny, CEO of 1 in 4. Deirdre, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, your organisation has welcomed the publication of the Scoping Inquiry report, its recommendations and the government's approval of a commission investigation. It's a monumental report, isn't it? And I mean, it really paints a very troubling, horrible picture of what so many children went through at the hands of some despicable human beings.
Yes, that is sadly true. The report presents a very deeply troubling account of widespread sexual abuse and physical abuse in our schools. And I think it exposes a systemic culture of abuse and violence where a lot of the authority figures either normalised the behaviour or ignored it. And I think it's very disturbing.
Have we ever any insight, Deirdre, into how coordinated or organised this was, or how could so many people get themselves into a position and want to do this to children and find a ways to avoid being found out or getting away, or how to treat those children so they didn't say anything? I find it hard to believe that 800 to 900 individuals knew to do this without some level of coordination or a ring of some description or other.
It's very difficult to say, and we don't have that insight, especially from this report. Now, it is, I think, some of the survivors speak in the report of exactly that they suspected that. And again, they speak of, authority figures knowing or ignoring or normalising the behaviour. I guess when somebody can act with impunity, and I think when a behaviour like that is normalised, of course, it becomes ingrained in a culture, maybe within a school or an institution, and it flourishes and more people are harmed. So I think, when we're talking about the issue of especially sexual abuse of children, it happens in secret, and sometimes it's an open secret. There's a lot of shame that's left with the child and a sense of responsibility. So it becomes a vicious circle, and the less we talk about it or the less we give people the opportunity to have a safe space where they can talk about it, the more it happens. And I guess often we're looking in the rear view mirror at this issue, but we know that the figures of sexual abuse in Ireland haven't declined, even though we've begun to speak about it more Our CSO would say that, in fact, the figures have slightly increased. The location of that abuse has probably changed somewhat, but certainly it's still something to be very concerned about for the children the people who are children now.
Yeah, and much of that abuse has moved online as well, which I
That's
think
true,
maybe
yeah.
that you were alluding to there. And we saw one secret group cracked there not so long ago, and there was tens of thousands of members from Ireland who were actively participating in the abuse of children through the creation and distribution of images. So we can't think that this is something of our past and ignore our responsibility in the present. None of this conversation would be possible without the incredible bravery of the victims, alleged victims, speaking out. Many of them, I'd imagine, for the first time. And I think it's imperative, is it not, that we ensure that their stories, their experiences are handled with extreme care, that we don't re-traumatize these people.
Exactly. And I think the scoping inquiry created a safe space very consciously for people to talk about what had happened to them in schools. And I guess it set a very strong foundation for uncovering the truth about abuse in schools. And we would like to see a similar approach to a commission to inquire. We know that any adversarial approach to dealing with this issue can lead to re-traumatization of survivors. So again, we know too much to get this wrong. Mm-hmm. We really need to use the knowledge we have, and the voice of survivors have been central to this report. And I think we have to honour that, as you say, courage that people have had to come forward and to make it a safer place for people to continue to disclose in our communities and in our families. And we have to respond to that with compassion. I suppose the default is often to disbelieve, because that keeps us from, having to deal with the reality of it. But it's so important as a society that we start to get to grips with this, or we'll be still doing inquiries in another, 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, for sure. And also, what came to my mind this morning was all the voices that will go unheard because they've passed away and maybe, died before their time for whatever reason without ever having sort of their stories heard. That does bother me. Obviously,
yes.
This is focusing on schools run by religious orders. Is now the time to expand this and say, look, if we're going to face up to this as a nation, and we're going to talk about things like potentially redress and what have you, that we widen this out. Let's get everything onto the table. Yes, of course, these are schools run by religious orders, but let's widen the scope to all schools.
Yes, there is a recommendation that should be the case, and again, that is something we would absolutely support. There's nothing to say that schools run by religious were any different than Catholic religious schools to any other type of religion, or mainstream schools. So I think I'd hope to see that happen. I suppose the vastness of what a commission would have to deal with, even as it stands, is just so complex that I think it'll take some time to get their heads around the terms of reference for a commission. But yes, there shouldn't be any difference between where you went to school or who ran the school. If you were caused harm in a school of this nature, then you should be entitled to engage with the commission. And it's likely there will be some sampling, I suspect, just to, it's also important that the commission is efficient and speedily, and that we're not waiting for a decade for the outcome. So there may need to be sampling, but I think certainly at the moment it seems that the mood is that it would be expanded. Just how that happens, I'm not sure.
And we don't want to have to go through all this process, and then talk about redress scheme, and then talk about, is it the state that's going to, if there's a financial responsibility, is it going to fall to the state? What about the religious orders? What are they? I would love to see all of that being worked through at the same time, so this doesn't prolong it for ages, because there's still question marks about redress that was agreed, and people not coming with their what they're responsible for. Obviously, we've got the likes of 1 in 4 there to support survivors. Should we have had, or maybe there is, something that coincides with the publication of this report, sort of state-run or state-funded or state-promoted, to support those that are going to be, many going to be re-traumatized by this entire conversation? Is that there, or should it be there, or should it form part of part of any findings of this inquiry when it actually begins?
Yes, and well, it's a very good question. I suppose services like ourselves are under pressure in these situations and very much often under-resourced. The HSE has a service which also there are waiting lists for. So again, in the report, it speaks to the support and the skilled support and specialist support that survivors deserve. And again, that's a recommendation, obviously, that we would support. So, I think, again, the survivors speak so eloquently about the impact on their lives and how complex that is, from, failed relationships to parenting. And I think it seems to have got captured, I think, the motivation of the minister to do something about it. But that only translates if they can fund the organisations like ourselves properly to help people deal with the consequences of this.
Yes,
and
because
said,
we have
sadly,
to take, in doing so, we have to take responsibility for the re-traumatization, or however it might be phrased. Each individual is going to feel this differently. Some might be elated. I'm not saying, that finally there's some progress. Everyone is an individual, but we have to make sure organisations like yours, if they're not being provided directly by the state, are funded to deal with the inevitable increase in phone calls, because then there are another cohort of people that might feel empowered to speak, that will need support off the back of these types of conversations. Because some of the stories, Deirdre, and maybe we should face up to it, but you would really have difficulty reading them out on daytime radio or in any platform, but they are contained within these reports of what these children went through. Not just the abuse at the time, the fact that it was in front of other adults, in front of other classmates or things like that, but in their own time, the stress that they were under to try and avoid going back to school, to try and figure out on their own, a tiny little developing brain trying to figure on their own, to the point where one person had picked a spot where he or she believed that they could step out in front of and be sure to be hit by a car to avoid them having to go back to school and face the horrible abuse that they went through. That's just one example of not just the actual abuse, but how it framed a child's experience of life. It's horrible. It's horrendous.
It is, and it's so, I suppose, multifaceted and long-lasting, potentially. So any child who has been in that situation brings that fear into adulthood and into every part of their lives. And, the fact that they've survived that and been able to articulate that is just incredible and shows enormous fortitude and determination. But there will have been consequences, across their lifetime, and you multiply that by thousands. And the reality is that, we're all experiencing the impact of that in our communities, because, it doesn't happen in isolation. So again, we have a collective responsibility to respond and to encourage government to respond appropriately and give people the services that they deserve.
I mean, I spoke to a gentleman, I think he was somewhere in his late 60s. He got married, had children, successful business person. And as soon as the conversation began about his experience as a young child, it just reappeared. It all just reappeared, and that's what a lot of people have to do. That's what the experience is for a lot of people. It affects you right up until the end. Okay, Deirdre, we'll watch closely. We have all a responsibility, I think, that this is done right. Thanks for your time this morning. If anyone wants to contact 1 in 4, and we'll obviously list any other supports that are out there, but if anyone wants to contact 1 in 4, how do they do so?
They can do that through our website at 1in4.ie, or they can contact us on 01662 4070. And bear with us, it's a little bit busy at the moment, but we'll certainly respond as soon as we can.
Yeah.
So
well, if I were responsible for this report, I would have said we're going to get a flood of calls after this. We need to ensure that reliable, good organisations such as 1 in 4 and others have the extra resources on hand to deal with it. Unfortunately, we still get stupid little things wrong. Very important things, but I appreciate how you're stretched, but you will answer every call as best you can. Deirdre, thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for your support. Take care.
No problem whatsoever. That's Deirdre Kenny there, of CEO of 1 in 4, off the back of that report published this morning. Again, if you wish to speak to us or seek any numbers for any support. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. We will pass them on to you. Right, okay. A caller says, I was a student in the early 80s to Christian Brothers School. The level of violence was unreal, a combination of violence at school and at home. It affected my mental health permanently. Christian Brothers enjoyed what they did. They were monsters on steroids. Why don't we talk about the brutality of cane use in schools and being beaten up? Sexual abuse is not the only scandal that happened in schools. Beating did not just occur in Catholic schools either, and we just touched on that. That this report should be broadened out to all schools. I think most people might agree. And also, corporal punishment, or however it was phrased, I think lots of us of a certain age did experience that. And just because today we're talking about, and it's not just sexual abuse, sexual and physical abuse of young people, it doesn't in any way take away from someone's experience of a different type of abuse in school. All children should have felt safe and protected, loved and cared for in school. No one should have been abused in any form whatsoever. Beatings in front of other classmates, sexual abuse, it's all bad. And as I say, just because perhaps we're talking about one area of abuse, it doesn't in any way take away from another person's lived experience of their abuse, and all voices should be heard. Hi Greg, any chance you air on Highland Radio someday? Monaghan Woods in Killygordon. There's one spot so badly grown over it needs bush cut back. Such a great place to walk the dogs. Who's responsible for Monaghan Woods in Killygordon? It'd be a shame if people can't enjoy it because it's overgrown. I checked this out, and it's true. An Irish student who lives near a college gets €195 a month of a maintenance grant. The Ukrainian student gets $1,150 a month. This is really shocking. I'll attach screenshots, and they did. Okay, thank you for that. Everyone should be treated equal. I don't think just because you come from a different place that you should be treated any better or any worse than someone else. This is what causes problems in communities. Greg, talking about a redress scheme, so they can't get the money for the religious from the religious orders for the last one, and I did indicate that, and I think it should be sort of, two-track to make sure that we're not delaying things because we get to the end of a process and then all of a sudden we start saying, oh, who's going to come up with the money? Thanks so much for all your comments coming in. I'll get through as many of them as is possible. I do want to talk about Enoch Burke. We talked about Enoch Burke yesterday, and we were talking about the legal side of things. And, that necessarily doesn't talk to what people's views are about the ethical side of things with the Enoch Burke case. But anyway, we'll talk about some of that. This caller says, I'm very disappointed with Greg Hughes. On 2 days last week, he named J.K. Rowling as transphobic on 2 occasions. I never referred to anyone as transphobic. She's not transphobic. She fully respects trans people. I know that for a fact. But she also has great issue with trans people competing in sports, trans women competing in women's sports. She's also very vocal about trans men or women in the wrong, what she would see as the wrong prison. I'm very familiar with J.K. Rowling. She also obviously is a great defender of women's spaces and believes that just because someone identifies as a woman or is a trans woman, they should not be able to use those spaces. What I did say is there's two ends of the argument. So if I did refer to as transphobic, I know her stance on this inside out. It was I misspoke, but I don't believe I actually did. But she would be seen as this perhaps the strongest voice in relation to that, and is anti-trans in terms of them in women's spaces, in women's sports, and in women's prisons, etc. There's a new complex of apartments beside SuperValu in Ballybofey. It was targeted for single parents. Can Pierce Doherty guarantee that this will go to Irish people who are being evicted or in need of housing? Right, okay, let's take a break because Chris is going to join us shortly because we're going to go through the business news. Highland Radio's Business Matters podcast is live for you right now. We're going to take a quick break and then Chris will join us with a run through the business news and to preview that pod.
The 9 till Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Well, wait till you hear why thousands of families are going full Lidl.
Yeah, the meat is fantastic. Yeah. Really, really good. Yeah. on a par with like going to a butcher's, even better. Like I love the beef for stew. You know, it's not lacking at all in any department. Absolutely, very warm and
Go full Lidl today.
The thing about hearing difficulties is you can still get the rough gist of most conversations. You know, just about. You might miss some great jokes. The one about the rabbit and the scarf. Like that one. But you'll get a vague idea. And that's okay, isn't it? Not for us, it's not. At Specsavers, we think OK hearing isn't OK. So book a free hearing check with one of our hearing experts today and be part of the conversation. Specsavers. OK hearing is not OK.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Searching for your perfect match? Then visit the Northwest Matchmaking Festival at the Allingham Arms Hotel, Bundoran, from Friday the 27th of September to Saturday the 5th of October. 9 days of non-stop dancing with top acts including Mike Denver, Jimmy Buckley, Tumbling Paddies, Derek Ryan, Johnny Brady, Michael English, Robert Mazzell and many, many more. Find that someone special with blind dates and speed dating occurring throughout the festival. For booking options, go to the allinghamarmshotel.ie.
What would you do if you won €10,000 in our mega summer draw?
Oh, I'd be going holiday. I would probably put it towards a new car.
I could probably build a swimming pool in the backyard for all this good weather I've been getting.
I definitely think about investing it on myself. The hair, the makeup. God, Guam would even get a call.
Get your tickets now on highlandradio.com. There are still 2 chances to win $2,500 with the main draw for a whopping €10,000 taking place on the 6th of September on the 9 till noon show. Don't miss out on your chance to win big in our mega summer draw. Woohoo!
Business Matters on Highland Radio is brought to you by Local Enterprise Office, Donegal. Find out more about the Energy Efficiency Grant, aimed at helping businesses to operate in a more sustainable way by visiting localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
Christopher Ashmore is with me. Hi, Chris.
Hello,
How you getting on?
Greg.
Good to
Very
see you
good.
again. It's been a while. In this slot, obviously, you come in and do sport and stuff, and we see you. How are you keeping?
Very good, very good.
You're looking quite tanned.
Yeah, a little bit of vitamin D never does any harm.
Well, quite the opposite. It does good.
Yeah.
Right, okay, let's get to some news before we talk about what's coming up in the podcast. New research out about the economy.
Yeah, now this is the Hollywell Trust, which is a community relations and community development initiative. It was actually set up in Derry as far back as 1988. They've done a report on the Northwest economy and particularly how cities and regions where there's a border involved kind of cooperate. And the author, Paul Gosling, well, he's, we all know about low disposable income, employment rates and poverty.
Again,
in
new
this,
figures
yeah.
this week showed that we retain that
unwanted
title.
But, the report shows things like, in particular, if you have better public transport integration and infrastructure and what it can lead to, and there's comparisons with other cities, including Basel in Switzerland, where they've very good cross-border transport because it's right on the border there with Germany and a lot of European countries. There's a lot of movement across the border, as there is here into the north, and very much the argument for investment in public transport. And it's probably topic or timely this has come out, and he mentions it with the All Ireland Rail Review, and they are saying that movement of people is a great way of fostering economic growth.
Yeah, we have all the info. We just need the infrastructure.
And a few decisions. Go ahead and let's do things instead of planning
I
and
couldn't
planning.
be any less cynical. I'm so cynical about it, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you raising it, and you have to. And talking of those lowest disposable incomes, again, Donegal being the lowest, there's quite a lot of high-value employment in this county, so it just goes to show the gaps that are there between the gaps that must be there from the higher earners to the lower income families, because if we retain that lowest figure and you factor in the amount of high-paid jobs there are here, it goes to show how tough some people are finding it, and it's something that will never be forgotten on this programme, because those people sometimes feel like they are voiceless. A major employer, Tata Consultancy Services, they're tying in with Google further.
Yes, they have expanded a partnership with Google Cloud, essentially offering new cybersecurity solutions for customers now. Tata here in Letterkenny, they have a threat management centre for cybersecurity. So, this is a big issue. This is good news from a Letterkenny perspective because it secures matters here and hopefully will lead to further employment. And as well as that, Tata Consultancy Services has expanded an 8-year partnership with Primark and has announced a new 5-year deal to assist Primark's IT systems when they're setting up new stores. So good positive news there.
For sure. New car registrations for August. There's a national trend.
Yeah, now the national trend is new car registrations were down 8.4%. But here in Donegal, we were actually up over 16% for the month of August. Overall, for the first 8 months of the year, new car sales in Donegal are up about 8% on last year. Now, the Society of the Irish Motor Industry, conscious of this budget that is not too far down the road, well, they're saying, look, the electric vehicle market needs a bit of a budget boost because new electric vehicle sales to date this year are actually down by 25%. So, look, we've spoken about it before.
We've talked about it. And I'm almost at the point to stop doing interviews about the millions that are being invested into the charging infrastructure because I don't see any improvement in the charging infrastructure until such time people can reliably charge their cars. Why would you put yourself through that risk and anxiety? Electric cars are great. Some of them have got great range. You can charge them at home, of course, but you want to be able to feel that you can charge them out on the road. And people go down the hybrid route because they feel they're doing something for the environment, but they also have the backup of a nice engine. And until they solve that and stop waffling and talking about it, the industry is going to struggle to get the message out there. All right, TV production company, what's going on here?
Just on the top, people are always interested, the top 5 selling brands in the county so far this year. Toyota first, followed by Kia.
The RAV4, I wonder?
Well, this is overall all the models.
Because the Kodiak's the top car nationally.
Yeah, and the reason Toyota are doing so well in Donegal, hybrid, you see, as it ties in with what you said.
Popular, so be interested. Sorry, so number 1's Toyota.
Toyota, 2 Kia, 3 Skoda, 4 Volkswagen, and 5 Hyundai. So that's your top 5 in Donegal so far this year.
Okay. Hyundai, a lot of those, they've had some quite attractive, the Ioniq 5 and what have you as well. Indeed. I wonder, is that where people are going for the electric? Right, Ligid TV Productions?
Yeah, now Ligid TV Productions, this is an award-winning independent TV production company. It's based in Donegal and also is active in Derry amongst Irish speakers, and it's created and produced a new children's cookery series. And it's on Coola 4, which is part of TG Cahir, all connected in there. And it's presented by a young baker from Gweedore, Evin O'D. And this new series is going to be launched next week, I think, or this weekend. So we'll hear more about that in the future.
Very
Interesting little story there,
for sure. Right, okay. Let's get on to what's on this week's Business Matters podcast.
Yeah, busy programme. First of all, I've been speaking with Louise Patton. Now, she's the secretary of the Ballybofey and Stranorlar Business Chamber. And believe it or not, Greg, they've never had a Chamber Awards night in the Twin Towns. So this is going to be the first one. It's coming up. It'll be held in the Villa Rose Hotel. It's not just confined to businesses. Also, and this is important, recognising people in the community, people in sporting organisations and voluntary work. So Louise says there's been a great response so far to get nominations in, and they've had a very positive feedback as well.
And it's creating a real buzz in the town, which is lovely to see. Tables are filling up as well. For every category, we will have 3 finalists. So that will probably get a lot of momentum going as well. So no, it's very exciting at the moment in Ballybofey. Yeah. So it's not just a business awards. It's also the community is recognised and the clubs and things as well, which would be. It's lovely to see everybody brought together, and it's not just for businesses. We want to appreciate people, and we want to point out the good things in Ballbofay because there are so many.
Yeah, brilliant idea. Brilliant night out by the sounds of things, proving popular. I'm sure if you want your table, you can get in contact with the chamber there. Right, Chris, what else?
Business in the Community Ireland. Now, this is a business-based group. They are liaising with local schools. They bring in employees, and it's a sort of a two-way thing. It helps closer links with the community. And basically, they have volunteers from companies that come in, deliver education programs with both primary and post-primary schools. And in this clip, Pamela Kearney, who's the Northwest Regional Organiser, she gives an example of how one Donegal firm tied in with a local school in a very practical way.
I'll give you an example. Gallagher's Bakehouse, one of my companies. They're working with St Columba's in Glenties, and they set the young people a challenge as part of their programme, and their programme was a World of Work programme. And that their challenge was for the young people to come up with new gluten-free products. So what was wonderful was the young people actually did go home. They involved their aunties, they involved grannies, uncles, granddads to make chocolate chip cookies and cakes and bread, to come up with really genuine recipes that the company could actually think about in terms of product development. So it's mutually beneficial for all the partners who are involved in the projects.
All right, now our last item for this morning, Chris.
Yes, now House Building Finance Ireland. A lot of people may not have heard of them. It was set up by the government back pre-COVID times. Now, it was really to lend money to building companies so that they can build new homes. Many companies went out of business after the crash, after the Celtic Tiger, and also small builders maybe not being able to get loans from banks. So money was put aside. So far, they've approved more than 2.1 billion in finance for building houses and apartments in 23 counties across the country, including 13 million for over 100 homes here in Donegal. And it wants to do a lot more in Donegal. So the Home Building Finance Ireland, it's hosting a breakfast event in the Radisson Blu Hotel here in Letterkenny on Tuesday, 8 o'clock start for that, and they want to speak to people involved in the building industry. Here's their business development manager, David Fox.
What we're looking to do in the Radisson Blu Hotel next Tuesday morning in Letterkenny is outline how developer, builder, or professionals that are within the industry that come along. We've outlined how they can apply for the funds and how we can make that as smooth a process as possible for them, and then get it turned around as quickly as possible.
All right, a lot of interesting stuff in there, Chris, and people can hear those interviews in their entirety on the podcast right now. It's available for you on our website to stream or download, highlandradio.com. It'll be in the news section for a wee while. It drops down the running order there, so the real place to go is to the listen back section, which has all the previous episodes of the podcast, also the podcast of this show and loads of other material, the score, the old debate. It's a great little resource there for you to listen to radio on demand. More and more people are. BBC now, through their app, 40% of their content is consumed on demand, believe it or not, Chris.
And you can go on, as you said there, and you click on one thing and then on another thing, and it's almost a bottomless pit. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. A pit be sounding quite negative.
Okay. It's almost
a bottomless resource.
It's almost a pool full of information.
It's the podcast palace, is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the podcast palace. Right, Chris, if people want to listen to it, as many do, as part of a scheduled programming, Sunday's the day.
Sunday after the 6 o'clock news. And if you want to contact me, you can email businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
All right, Chris, we bid you adieu until next Wednesday at around about this time. Thanks very much, Chris Ashmore there. Back after the break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
The Redcastle Oceanfront Golf and Spa Hotel would like to invite you to their wedding fair on Sunday the 8th of September from 2 to 5 p.m. Meet the wedding team, top industry suppliers with breathtaking views, refreshments and more. We hope to see you there.
The Aer Lingus September sale is now on. Get up to 30% off flights to Europe and Britain. Soak up some winter sun or explore some of Europe's most charming cities. The choice is yours with 2 million seats on sale. But hurry, sale ends September 16th. Book now at aerlingus.com. T's and C's apply.
PDO thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Gweedore. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Gweedore, 07495 325 75.
These days, we're all looking for healthy, tasty family meals and lots of variety. The good news is that our fishermen continue to bring us the best of the catch, like fresh Irish hake and haddock. There are so many ways to enjoy them. Try delicious Thai curry with hake or mouth-watering Cajun seasoned haddock. For lots of tasty recipes and different meal ideas, visit boardbeer.ie and look out for Irish hake and haddock next time you're shopping. Fresh ideas, great meals.
Hey, Greg Hughes here, inviting you to join us for a very special 9 to noon show this Friday, live from On Greenon Theatre in Letterkenny, where we will hear from Highland Radio's 4 finalists taking part in the Irish Music Month competition. You can listen live on the radio from 9 o'clock or watch the show on our socials. And if you want to watch live in the theatre, tickets are available right now for free at ongreenon.com. So join me, Greg Hughes, Paul and Jimmy for a very special 9 till noon show live from On Greenon Theatre this Friday morning from 9.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Support local at McElhenny's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhenny's Ballybuffet.
Right, the weather forecast for today. It's going to be cool for this time of year, 13 to 15 degrees. Some showers or prolonged spells of rain. Winds moderate. Tomorrow much more pleasant, predominantly dry, spells of hazy sunshine, milder and more humid with highs of 17 to 20 degrees. Now this is, I'm not stating this as a scientific fact as we head into Wellness Wednesday, but for many people the conversation about vaping was, it seemed, about as a smoking cessation aid. Many people who were smokers and couldn't give up eventually were able to give up by using vaping products. The safety message, I think, has been a little bit confused in that often the early conversation was how safe it was compared to smoking, for an example, and there's some conflicting views on that. But I think the stage was set for it to be seen as, you know, the much lesser of two evils. But now what we're seeing is more and more people vaping that never vaped before. I would love to see genuine statistics on how many teenagers now vape, how many teenagers now are addicted to nicotine. And it's not just teenagers, of course, it's across all demographics. And more so we're seeing cannabis type products or derivatives in vapes now. You will know over €3,000 worth of these suspected products were seized in South Donegal last week. And that was triggered by a medical emergency. Someone obviously had been taking one of these products, had an adverse reaction to it. A Garda investigation ensued, and so then did the seizure. So now we're going to talk about vaping and the risks of it. The Parent Hub Donegal, in association with Donegal Parent Support Champions, presents an information talk for parents, teenagers and vaping. So it's for parents, it's about teenagers and vaping. Our guest today is Christina McElhenny, the Alcohol and Other Drugs Coordinator with the Donegal ETB. Thank you very much for joining us, Christina.
Thank you, Greg, for having me. I'm delighted to be able to speak on this topic for sure, and particularly at this time of year, you know, when we have a lot of young children.
Just before you can go, Christina, if you are on loudspeaker, could you lift the handset? Maybe you're not. It's just I want to make sure that I can hear absolutely clearly.
Okay, I will. I'll take it off the speaker. I was on loudspeaker there, so it's off the speaker now. Is that better?
Brilliant. Absolutely, much better. It just gets rid of that little echo. So go ahead, Christina, pick up where you left off there.
Yeah, I'm just saying thanks, Sarah, for that invitation, particularly at this time of year. And I'd like to say thanks to Feroiga and Parents Hub and that, you know, it is a topic of conversation, particularly, you know, when we have young children moving from, you know, primary school on to secondary school. And they're going to be, you know, quite tempted to get involved in the use of vapes and stuff like that. Now, you brought to, you to the listeners there, the actual things that are, being contained in vapes now, that we really do need to exercise a little bit more caution around the use of these particular things. And indeed, they were originally developed as a harm reduction intervention. But things have changed as we've got to know them, because they've been on the market from about the early 2000s, about 2003. And there's been a few very important studies that have been done on them in the last couple of years, most particularly. And basically, there was a piece of research done by Johns Hopkins University, and they were basically saying that there are hundreds of unknown chemicals in these particular products, and now we're seeing unknown synthetic chemicals in the products as well that are semi-synthetic and fully synthetic cannabinoids. And, these synthetic cannabinoids have been around for a while, and we're seeing them being introduced and developed, because that's the kind of world that we're in. They can have some very adverse and life-threatening effects on people, and definitely they can have very severe mental health effects on people as well. So what's been discovered recently in these particular vapes are things like HHC, which was developed and introduced and found in America around 21 and made its way to Europe around 2022, and that's a hexahydrocannabinol. And that's a semi-synthetic. And then we have THCP, which is a completely synthetic chemical compound. So this is what we're talking about. This has nothing to do with THC or CBD. They're actual fully chemical synthetic compounds developed to have particular effects, and they are quite risky. And the thing about it is that these new semi-synthetic and synthetic cannabinoids, there's absolutely no regulation and law on them. So they can appear in these vapes because, technically speaking, they haven't been controlled under the Misuse of Drugs Act.
And effectively what you might have is you have someone who, to all intents and purposes, is smoking cannabis. It's different, it's derivatives of it and all that kind of stuff, but effectively that is what they're doing. But also, too, that's very, very important, of course. But we have a generation of people addicted to nicotine and high levels of nicotine as well that never ever smoked before. That in and of itself would be an alarm bells for me. Like someone who stopped smoking and used sort of vapes would probably, have the whole kit. And a lot of people who stop smoking would vape, say, 3 milligrams or 6 milligrams of nicotine. These vapes contain, a lot of them contain 20 milligrams of nicotine. Now, if you get accustomed to 20 milligrams of nicotine and you try and go off that, right, you are talking about trying to give up one of the most addictive substances on the planet. And there's tens of thousands of teenagers just walking around puffing 20 milligrams of nicotine in vapes, not to mention the stuff that you mentioned. And no one seems to be batting an eyelid.
I think they are batting an eyelid, and I think it does take a wee bit of time to do the research and find out what's in these actual things you see, and that's the problem. The type of the world that we're in right now is that any chemical compound can make its way onto the market because there are no regulations to stop it, because they're developed and they're fired onto the market before anybody can actually do anything about them. And that's the kind of world that we're in when it comes to these psychoactive substances and that. The concern for vaping is not only do you have psychoactive substances in them, such as nicotine and other, semi-synthetic cannabinoids and synthetic cannabinoids in them, you also have very dangerous things like formaldehyde, acetaldehyde, carcinogens. These are actually carcinogenic. You have, there was a study done, and there was 127 hazardous chemicals found in vapes that were acutely toxic. There was 153 as health hazards, and there was 225 irritants in them. And this was done by the RSCI 2024, a huge piece of research that was done. And what they were trying to do was begin to forecast the vaping health risk through neural network model prediction flavors and pyrolysis reactions. So what they're actually saying is this.
I just need you to move your mouth
that
a
many
little closer.
flavors.
Yeah.
They contain so many flavors and and smells and that type of thing. And these flavors were all developed, for food, and they weren't developed to be heated up as chemicals and mixed with other chemicals. Now the lungs are breathing this in.
Yeah.
And that now has created a new condition that is notable around the world called e-valley. And that's e-cigarette vaping associated lung injury. Now, because these are relatively a new product, we don't know what the long-term damage to lungs actually is. And if I was offering a piece of advice to young people, particularly who have any respiratory difficulties, that might have asthma or something like that, look, plain and simple advice is stay clear of these things.
For sure.
Another thing that our scientific discipline are actually looking at the minute as well is secondary effects of inhaling someone else's vape.
All right, okay.
So
Listen, I'm gonna have to move on because we've come to the end of the programme. But all of this will be discussed in great detail on Tuesday, the 10th of September. It's between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. The speaker is our own here, Christine McElhenney, Alcohol and Other Drugs Coordinator with Donegal ETB. You can book your place by going to Eventbrite. What's the best way of getting that link? I can't really read the URL, sorry, Christina. So if parents want to book a slot, so you know how many are going to be there, what's the best way? And it's only 7 to 8. It's online, isn't it? So what's the best way of...
it is.
What's the best way of on that?
Okay, to the best of my knowledge, you do go onto Event Link, and if anybody has any problem getting a link, that you can actually get directly in contact with me, and if they can phone Highland Radio for my details.
And we'll link it on our socials.
Yeah, you link it on the socials then.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Vaping the Risks. If you search that on Eventbrite, it should pop up. Thank you very much, Christina McElhenney. 08660 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number. Believe it or not, I'm not. Believe it or not, that sounds that sounds terrible. But the seats are filling up. It seems at On Green On Theatre for our live show between 9 and 12 on Friday, where we have 4 fantastic acts, the cream of the crop of Northwest performers, singing 3 songs each live as they vie for the title of the local hero from Highland Radio. Me, Paul McDevitt, Jimmy Stafford are going to be there. There'll be plenty of crack and great music. You can watch it live by calling the On Green On box office or going online to ongreenon.com and booking your tickets. There's a dozen, so you're going to be there at this point, hopefully. Fingers crossed. All right. Chat to you tomorrow at 9. John Breslin's next.